When emergencies strike, stay informed with Reverse Alert. Everything from incoming severe weather, traffic alerts, police and fire activity, industry alerts, and citywide information. Reverse Alert will provide you time-sensitive information to keep you safe. Signing up is a fast and easy process. Text BeReadyCCNC to 888-777 or visit cctexas.com/alert signup. Choose to receive notifications by phone call, text, or email. And with fully customizable options, you pick what notifications you want to receive. And you can designate what hours of the day that you don't want to be disturbed. Stay informed, stay aware, stay alert. Sign up for Reverse Alert today.
You can submit a city service request quickly and easily by downloading the MyCC 311 app on your phone. Reporting street problems, tall grass, gas or water issues, or other concerns is simple on the 311 app. Just choose from a list of services, add a photo, answer a few short questions, mark your location, and hit submit. Everything you need in just a few minutes. Life is made easy with 311. Download the MyCC 311 app today.
Light Up CC is a streetlight conversion project between the City of Corpus Christi and AEP Texas, where we're converting existing streetlights to new and improved LED street lighting. The new lights will save the taxpayers over $600,000 annually, and they will use about 50% less electricity, so they're much more energy efficient. We have over 15,000 lights that are being upgraded throughout the entire city of Corpus Christi. Other major cities within Texas have switched to LED lights, and they are more popular within the communities. LED lighting is popular because the color rendition is clearer and brighter. It attracts less insects. They have a longer lifespan of over 20 years, less carbon footprint. Nighttime visibility will be greatly improved, reducing nighttime crashes, pedestrian crashes, decreased crime. Overall, the new LED lighting will help the community feel safer.
We've all dealt with the hassles of traveling. Traffic, long lines, security, layovers. What if there was a smarter way? When you fly out of Corpus Christi International Airport, you get all the modern amenities you love with the stress-free convenience of flying local. So you can skip the hassle and get right to the good parts, taking off and returning home. Fly smarter, not harder, at flyccia.com.
Many households in our community rely on natural gas. It's important to know how to detect a gas leak and how to report it. You can detect gas leaks through sight, smell, and sound. If you see dead vegetation near a pipeline, smell rotting eggs, or hear a hissing noise, there could be a leak nearby. Make sure to leave the area immediately. If you suspect a gas leak, call the gas department at 311. Do not light a match and avoid using any electrical switches so you don't create a spark that could start a fire. Also, avoid driving into the area. Your vehicle's engine may ignite the vapors. And do not attempt to extinguish any fire that might start. Natural gas is a part of the City of Corpus Christi's utility system, and keeping our residents safe is our top priority. For more information, visit cctexas.com/gas.
This is our home, full of fun in the sun and in the water, but we need your help to keep our bayfront clean. Nature has its way of recycling water. It evaporates and comes back in the form of rain. It filters through the soil into water tables. Without thinking, people contaminate nature's cycle by dumping unwanted chemicals in the storm drain. Things like grass clippings, fertilizer, paint, and oil from your car are not meant to be washed out into the curb and into the street because they keep the city's stormwater drainage system from working properly. Ultimately, they contaminate our ocean, bays, and groundwater. Remember, clean bays start at home, so do your part to keep things running smoothly and keeping things out of the gutter. To help keep our city beautiful. Only rain down the storm drain.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Welcome to City Hall and Council Chambers. You made it, the few who made it to City Hall with the rain, which we are very grateful for, by the way. So this morning our invocation will be given by Leanne Haney, and she works in my office. Our pastor was not able to get here. He had a power outage. So Leanne, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join me in honoring the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay. Thank you. And I'm sorry, who was going to be doing Rebecca is going to do the prayer. I apologize for that. We're all out of order today, but you know what? It's 12:10 and we're just starting our meeting, so 15 almost. Thank you, Rebecca.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, good afternoon. Today I would like to say my favorite prayer, which is the prayer of St. Francis. So please join me in prayer. Lord, make us an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let us sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that we may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Rebecca. Will you please call the roll, Rebecca?
Mayor Paulette Guajardo.
Present.
Council members Roland Barrera,
Here.
Sylvia Campos,
Present.
Gil Hernandez,
Here.
Michael Hunter,
Here.
Jim Klein,
Here.
Mike Pesley, Everett Roy,
Present.
Dan Suckley,
Here.
City Manager Peter Zanoni,
Present.
City Attorney Miles Risley. Mayor and Council, a quorum of the council and the required charter officers are present to conduct the meeting.
Great, thank you, Ms. Huerta. So because of the unscheduled events this morning, we are going to go ahead and start with public comment. Mr. Risley, would you please recite the rules of decorum?
Citizens are authorized and encouraged to present their views to the council on city-related matters. However, such should be done in a factual, precise presentation, and questions of council or staff are inappropriate. Loud, boisterous, profane, or obscene language or behavior is not allowed.
Thank you, Mr. Risley. Please go after that. Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, so let's see, individuals will be called upon in order in which they signed up electronically. In-person public comments will be taken first, followed by virtual public comment. Corpus Christi residents will take precedence over non-residents, and for those commenting in person, we'd like to remind everyone that a recording is being made of the meeting. Please speak into the microphone located at the podium and state your name and address prior to speaking. There are two opportunities in which you can make public comment. One is at this time, and the other is at the time that we actually hear the item, so please choose one. Citizen comments are limited to 3 minutes. Non-resident comments are limited to 1. And for those commenting in person, there is a timer at the base of the podium. It will tell you exactly how much time you have left. Once the buzzer goes off, we greatly appreciate you ending or concluding your comments. If you have a petition or anything that you would like for the council to have prior to you speaking, if you'll please hand it to our city secretary, Ms. Huerta, and she will distribute it to us before you speak. So thank you. We will start with John Hendricks. Is John Hendricks here? John Hendricks is not here, so we will move on. Jill Underbrink. Okay, you can give them to Ms. Huerta here. Yes, ma'am. Did you get a copy, Mr. Zanoni?
I don't think we got a copy, no, ma'am.
Okay. Okay.
There's more copies she has.
Are there more can you give one to Peter and Miles?
Right,
Okay. Here, you can go ahead and start, and we'll,
okay.
here, pass this down. Thank you, Ms. Underbrink. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Jill Dibble Underbrink, and I reside at 4813 Meadowvale Circle in Corpus Christi, Texas. I had gone away for a weekend and returned on February 18th, and upon my arrival, I opened the door and smelled a terrible stench. As I walked through the house, I observed that the sewage had backed up from both bathrooms throughout half the house. It had gone through the bedrooms, the hallway, everything, even into the living room. I called the city and a tech came out and he said that they would install a cleanout line. And I asked about the damages. He said that Jeremiah, I guess his supervisor, would be calling. And I did talk to him, but he said there was nothing he could do, that I could submit receipts and file a claim with the city secretary. So at that point, I went ahead and hired NAMCO to go out and do a biohazard clean. And they had to remove several bags of personal items that had been contaminated. Basically, anything that was on the floor was contaminated. I called Hurricane Drain, and they did an inspection on my pipes, which included a hydrostatic and the camera. There was nothing wrong with my pipes. But they did observe that there were some cracks in the city pipes. After that, I called the city again to give them an update, and they said, well, I could file a report, and within 5 to 10 business days, I'd hear something. Well, I did hear back, and they determined that it was a personal matter and that the city was not responsible for any of the damages. So I called my homeowner's insurance, State Farm, and filed a claim. They said that it wasn't covered because there wasn't anything wrong with my pipes. It was on the city side. So at that point, I reached out to Councilman Gil Hernandez, and he did a little bit of research. He did discover that there had been the pump trucks at my neighbor behind my house the day before I had gotten back home. So they cleared the line, and everything went into my house. I had roughly $20,000 worth of expenses. The city did come back with an offer of $3,280 that they were willing to pay, but I don't feel that's fair or equitable. I mean, I'm a widow. I had to use life insurance money to pay for the damages. I would like to request a meeting with Michael Hunter and the city manager to discuss this further, because I just don't feel that this was equitable.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Underbrink.
And in your packets, I have pictures of the damages, all the invoices, an outline of everybody I talked to, and that no one was helpful.
Okay. Go ahead. Did you want to say something?
Thank you. Ms. Underbrink, I'd be very happy to meet with you. I'm very sorry this hasn't been taken care of. She did bring this to our attention, and Councilman Hernandez and I have both brought this, not only to Mr. Zanoni's attention, but the department head, and I'm kind of concerned why this hasn't been fixed yet.
Okay.
So could we get an explanation on that, Mr. Zanoni?
I don't have one, Councilman. I know Councilman Hernandez brought it to my attention, and I need to work with the department and legal department to see what their analysis was.
Okay, but yes, both of us would be happy to. My one-on-one meeting with the city manager has been canceled due to scheduling conflicts, so when we do have our one-on-one, you can come with me.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So,
Do we
Mayor,
want
I
staff
also
to-
want to mention that I kind of, right when this was happening, when I mentioned it to the city manager, that's when I had my injury to my foot, and I kind of fell out for 6 weeks. So, just for your information, I spilled hot oil on my foot and had second-degree burns. And so I was kind of out of commission for a few weeks. But I did mention it to the city manager. We were trying to get it scheduled. It just, events of the time that happened, but.
Yeah.
Right, so
Can
we'll
we have
follow up.
staff maybe speak
We
with Ms.
have-
Underbrink so we can coordinate something?
Yeah, well, we have
Thank
our
you.
information right here, Ms.
Okay.
Underbrink, right? And
Okay.
we'll call you and set something up.
We will.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Underbrink. Thank you for coming down. Jill, oh, no, that was you. I'm sorry. Blanca Parkinson?
I had a presentation, I don't know. Oh. Okay, can I start? Blanca Parkinson, District 1. At this point, it's a joke for any city councilman to pretend that any collaboration or MOU with the port on DeSalle will yield anything other than more financial abuse and exploitation of the ratepayer and our water. The port has spent at least $42 million on their Harbor Island permits and has nothing to show for it except for a discharge permit that has been declared invalid by the EPA. Where is my presentation?
Here, oh. Yeah.
All right, I'm starting over. I want my 3 minutes to start over. No, I'd like to start over, please.
She thought the presentation was up, Ms. Whitney.
Blanca Parkinson, District 1. At this point, it's a joke for any city councilman to pretend that any collaboration or MOU with the port on desal will yield anything other than more financial abuse and exploitation of the ratepayer and our water. The port has spent at least $42 million on their Harbor Island permits and has nothing to show for it except for a discharge permit that has been declared invalid by the EPA. Next slide, please. In April of this year, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers issued a letter denying the port's application for an intake and outfall permit. Next slide, please. Next slide. Thank you. It turns out you can't install a 3-mile by 14-foot diameter intake pipe and lie and say it's going to have minimal impacts. The port has nothing to offer us. They have shown nothing but incompetence in siting, procurement, engineering, public engagement, and have spent at least $42 million doing so. Sarah Garza and Sean Strawbridge are an embarrassment when it comes to their temper tantrums with the regulating agencies. Next slide, please. The city has not been transparent either in how many millions they have spent on desal, despite Esteban Ramos saying over and over that the city performed their due diligence. Just this month, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers considered the city's construction application for a desal plant incomplete. Next slide, please. And this is the location of the city's proposed uninterruptible water source. Just brilliant. Yesterday, August 21st, marked 3 years since this explosion in the Inner Harbor that claimed the lives of 4 men and severely injured 6 others. Submerged pipelines, such as the one that caused this tragedy, are a concern for this site for obvious reasons. Next slide, please. At the La Quinta sites, both the port and the city brilliantly submitted permits for 2 desal plants in the same vicinity. The plants are both proposed less than 3 miles from the Kite Surf Launch Park and Indian Point Fishing Pier. These permits are being opposed and contested to the bitter end because that's a beautiful part of Corpus Christi Bay. Next slide. The biggest lie told regarding desalination is that it is for the people. This excerpt is from a letter on behalf of the city to the TCEQ acknowledging that regional water plans did not identify municipal needs for Corpus Christi or its customers for the next 50 years. The city fraudulently, yes, I'm going to say it, submitted the permits for municipal use for one reason, to make us pay for it. In fact, just last Tuesday, the EDC CEO unapologetically waltzed through here and told council that 5 carbon capture facilities that would require 30 million gallons of water per day were interested in our region. The mayor thanked him while we sit on our perpetual drought restrictions and are told to feel guilty for brushing our teeth and fined for watering our grass. These desal scams are already failures. There's one option: stop letting the largest volume water users exempt themselves from drought restrictions, end the drought exemption, and stop promising the Bay to multinational corporations that no one can regulate. Certainly not y'all.
Thank you, Ms. Parkinson. Isabel Dyson?
I have a PowerPoint too. Okay, Isabel Reista, 326 Ponish. Next. The city's website has an outdated water conservation plan from 2020. Next. According to that plan in 2019, residents used 32% of our water and industrial customers used 49%. Next. This is from 2021. Play the video, please.
Steve, you told me that once Steel Dynamics and Gulf Coast Growth Ventures were up online completely, 80% of our water was going to go to industry.
Approximately, yes.
Next. I think, Steve, you told me that once Steel Dynamics...
This is from 2022. Play the video, please.
It's not 80%. 80% does not go to industry. It's less than 50%. And we're getting those numbers refined because in that 50%, that's a big delivery to San Pat Water District, who has to help us break down how much do they give to residential or commercial. So please, it's not 80%. We'd be in big trouble if that was the case, because 20%
next.
For the, it's not 80%.
Next. This summer, the water department reported, the water's department's report didn't even list industrial customers, but we learned that residents only use 16% of of water, down from 32% in 2019. Next. This table shows who pays the drought exemption fee. Neither Gulf Coast Growth Ventures nor Steel Dynamics, both of which have been on operation since 2022, are on the list, but their water supplier and our water customer, Sandpat Water District, is. Next. Steel Dynamics uses almost 1 billion gallons of water per year, our water. Next. Exxon Gulf Coast Growth Ventures uses almost 5.7 billion gallons of water per year. Next. Adding just these two water customers increased our industrial water use by more than 50%, and that doesn't factor in all the other water-intensive industrial expansion that has taken place since 2019. The city is not being honest. Next. We have so many questions. Where's the 2022 or 2023 water conservation plan? New industrial customers have a dramatic impact on our water supply and policy. We need a conservation plan more than every 5 years. 2, where is the water consumption by customer class? We need you to use and explain your methodology from 2020. 3, is Sandpat Water District paying the drought exemption fee for all of its customers or just for the industrial ones? 4, are CC residents the only ones punished for going over their water rations? Next. For the Greater Good launched a petition to educate the community about the drought conservation plan and to end the drought exemptions fee. We hoped that we would have 300 signatures by today. We have well over 400. Next. The state of our city is in crisis. We lack quality information and open communication. The council spends too much time in executive session, and some council members have violated the Open Meetings Act, scurrying around making backroom deals. You repeatedly violate our trust and have coerced us into policies driven by your fossil fuel friends and funders. They take our water and you let them drive our water policy.
Thank you, Ms. Adisa.
Shame on you.
John Weber.
John Weber, 609 Naples Street. I echo the many other comments from citizens for raising the water rates of non-residential users to equal residential users. Because we don't currently have a robust water conservation plan, I believe the city should employ rate design as a proven way to reduce water usage. This can be accomplished by a tiered rate system. This example is from Las Vegas Valley Water District. Next slide. They also have an excessive use charge that targets the top 10% of residential customers because they consume 30% of residential water delivered. Next slide. Next slide. Of course, we must take into consideration that their largest water users are residential. Our pie looks much different from this viewpoint. For that reason, it is imperative we use tiered rates for commercial and large water users as well. Next slide. The city gets more than 2,500 public information requests a year. Next slide. Here is a photo of 6 of mine. We'll round the total down to $900. Next slide. The estimated revenue from public information's requests is $3,000. This would mean my 6 requests make up 0.24% of the total requests and make up 30% of the estimated revenue. The rates I've been paying went up dramatically in June. It would appear to any reasonable person that the city wants to disincentivize me from getting public information, which is against the law. They always wait until the last possible day to give me the cost estimate, about 2 weeks, and then after that, after I have paid, it takes another 2 weeks to get the information. Sometimes they refuse to give me the information even after I have paid and make up some excuse to the AG as why they won't release the information. This can delay the process another 6 weeks. Next slide. This is the exact opposite of transparency. This appears to be a targeted plot to withhold and delay releasing public information to me. Regardless of how much you all dislike the port, they are transparent when it comes to public information requests. They provide me the information promptly and haven't charged me anything. This slide came off the city's webpage. Maybe one line should be added in the budget for the audit to audit all the public information requests to ensure all requesters are being billed equally. Thank you, and as always, have a nice day.
Thank you, Mr. Weber.
Excuse me, Mr. Risley? Is there any way that we can have a meeting with Mr. Weber and address these issues?
Who do you mean by we? You mean me and...
Me, you, and Mr. Weber.
We charge strictly in accordance with the provisions of the state of Texas regarding public records.
I'd like to discuss this further.
Was the request that we not charge in accordance with the...
Again, I would like to discuss this further and not here.
Yeah, I can have a meeting with you, Councilwoman.
Thank you. Okay. And I think her concerns are some of what Mr. Weber mentioned, which is the, it doesn't even have to be expediting. It may be the, the time it takes to get information to people. I'm not speaking for you, but I think that's one of the points he made. So I'm sure if you can coordinate with her and y'all can talk a little bit more in depth.
Yeah, we never artificially delay things. Quite often, the time that it takes in order to get the information is because we have to ask it of another department. So we have to ask for how long it will take for them to put together the request. So there's
all of that comes out of your
multiple
office,
parties.
And your department, how many do you have? I mean, just for clarification, how many are in your department that attend to these requests?
We have up to 3 people that quite often regularly attend to these requests.
Okay. So he'll coordinate meeting with you. Thank you, Ms. Campos. Samuel Andre Fryer.
Good afternoon, Council. I am Samuel Andre Fryer. I live in zip code 78414. Now, although debatable, if Mark Twain actually made this
I'm sorry, Mr. Fryer, would you state your address? Your actual address?
Okay, are my time still going?
No.
Okay.
As was, that's the process, and that is what is
2222 Cardinales Lane. Although debatable, if Mark Twain made this particular quote, the words nonetheless reveal sound observation. It is easier to fool people than to convince them they've been fooled. So it is with the number of people who have experienced frontal lobotomies by the systematic indoctrination of socialist, Marxist, and globalist ideologies. This renders them cognitively incapable of critically thinking and seeing the dangers of accepting fictitious concepts of critical race theory, which is divisive, gender assigned at birth over biological truth that God created mankind, male and female, the impact of flatulating cows on global warming, and of course, climate change, which of course they say is inherently racist. Therefore, they embrace socialist ideas and support Big Brother initiatives. Again, they ignore the fact that God the Creator gave mankind dominion over earth and not dominion over other men and women. Our nation's founders developed the Constitution unlike any other government charter that ever existed because it was based on protecting God-given unalienable rights of mankind, among these being life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. We must not subvert this by placing heavier tax burdens on Corpus Christians and their posterity. Our city is already over $1.5 billion in obligated debt, so a record-setting $1.5 billion budget is nothing for which we should boast. So as elected representatives of we the people, reject all aspects of sustainability and resiliency in our proposed fiscal year 24 city budget. Use the $4.8 million to fund the city marshals, lower, do not raise residential water and wastewater rates, and give those who have pushed for sustainability initiatives the opportunity to put their money and their efforts where their mouths are. By partnering with the city to organize others to clean up our beaches, purchase and plant trees, raise money to conduct tree canopy, erosion and beach surveys and other studies. Without taxes, without taxing our government or with taxing us or taking government grants, which of course come with strings attached. And release our city departments to focus on hardening our infrastructure to help us withstand the most extreme weather in this subtropical climate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fryer. Susie Saldana.
Susie Luna Saldana, 4710 Hackle. And it would have behooved some of the speakers to have been here at the workshop yesterday, because I want to thank the city manager for clarifying what needed to be clarified. I was shocked, to say the least, to find out what's going on in our city and how long it has. And it hadn't been for this man, we wouldn't know. That the high water users are using the water at my expense as senior citizen. I'm subsidizing them. Every senior citizen in our community is subsidizing them. So when one of our council people asked, but we're gonna double their rates. Well, you know what? They've taken a lot of our money, and they've taken a lot of our things that have come forward, and that water needs to be available for the citizens of Corpus Christi first. And we should not be subsidizing for others. So those council people that spoke on behalf of the high water users need to rethink their position. I thank the city manager for having brought it to our attention. I thank those of you that spoke up. You know, I had been told that this was going on, but I had to come and listen to it. I sat through here to your workshop and listened to what had to be said, and I'm very proud of some of you. Some of you councilmen I don't agree with all the time, but I'm completely in agreement with you now that this needs to be changed. Thank you, city manager, for not raising the rates of wastewater, and thank you for proposing the increase for the high water usage. That's what's important, that we know exactly what's going on. And in order to be knowing, we have to be informed. So if any of you do not vote for this plan, you're answerable to the people. You represent the people, not the few. So remember that when you take your vote on this issue. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Saldana. Eli McKay.
I truly believe in divine timing. I'm so glad to be here today, y'all. Again, my name is Eli McKay, and like all of you, I live on the land of the Karankawa and Lipan Apache peoples, in what is now 1008 Marguerite Street. Today, I'm here for gratitude. So, there's so many positive things happening in our city right now. I'm super grateful for the level of transparency and communication that the city has taken throughout the budget process. Not only are a lot of citizens paying attention, but many are confident and informed on the realities of our situation as a community. Many, not all, as we hear at public comment sometimes. Another thing I observed while watching the budget workshops and the public meetings is something that I've said here before, and the fact is that we all, residents, elected officials, have more in common than not. Regardless of our differences, the majority of residents want a safe and healthy city to live in, with quality of life services, regardless of what their socioeconomic status is. So mostly gratitude. So again, just like I said last time, you know, the homeless services budget needs more funding. I think that the staff in that department needs more support. I don't think that they should spend the majority of their time in a city hall office. I think that homeless services folks should be out with the community, dispensing food, dispensing hygiene, just straight up talking to people, because from the work that I've done, that's mostly what people want. They just want to be heard and seen and spoken to like they are a human being, which they are. I would like to know how much money would be saved from the police and fire budgets if we had a city-operated, non-corrugated shelter. Forget money. Think about our most precious and valuable resource, time. How much time would our civil servants save not having to respond to calls all over the city regarding our unhoused neighbors? My assumption is that the time and money saved would be quite substantial. Remember that this has been done in other cities, and we really don't have to reinvent the wheel here. Think about our situation here today with the storm. My gosh, imagine what a non-corrugated shelter would do in times of inclement weather. People would not have to seek shelter in dumpsters or doorways as they do now. We have options and people who want to be a part of this process in this city. More people than most cities I've lived in care about the homeless community. If you need ideas, I would urge you to reach out to the folks who make comment about this issue and the folks who commented at the budget meetings, very informed folks. And let's get it going. Let's continue moving forward together, and let's do this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McKay. Adam Rios?
Adam Rios, 7301 Tangled Ridge Court, here in Corpus Christi. I'd like to say dagote to everyone here, which is hello or hola hola, wherever you're from. I'm sending some blessings to my godson Kaimana, who is from the island of Maui, and we all know what has tragically happened with Lahaina there. I think that as a city close to the bays as we are by the water, we should all be doing something to help that community out. I am here also to give gratitude because last time I was here, I had some questions about what was going on at Westguth, and the information that has been shared and received with myself, I have shared with other organizations, and these kids in this community, and by kids I include myself as a grown man because I'm a skateboarder, we are very ecstatic with the plans that are moving forward. We understand that New Line is developing it, and if you're not familiar with New Line Skate Company, they have projects all over the world, 20 major competitive skate parks that they personally have built because they're a team of registered landscape architects, they're engineering experts, and they are construction professionals who are actually all active skateboarders at the same time. So we were really happy to see the plans. I was really happy to share that with the skateboard community. I was having a conversation with someone in the lobby, and I just wanted to reassure them. They were wondering, I know sometimes people think, why are we hiring an outside company? Well, sometimes we have to look that way because they're experts at this. If you're not familiar, I'll read something that New Line emphasizes. Their passion for skateboarding is matched with the purpose to empower youth and permanently strengthen communities through a holistic and highly inclusive development approach, regardless of project size or budget. The result is not only the world's most compelling concrete skate parks, but truly celebrated public spaces that incorporate locally inspired art and sculpture, inviting socializing areas, sustainable developmental principles, and strong connections to surrounding amenities. So I'm sharing those photos, and this is all public information if anybody's watching this, and I always encourage people to get involved, but this is all public information. Seriously, when we saw those plans, this is as beautiful as Cole Park is. Geographically, it's by the water. To know that this is going to happen further inland and this level of skate park is going to happen, the calls that I was getting from Philadelphia, Las Vegas, San Francisco, Salt Lake City, Seattle, several reservations that are part of the Apache Skateboard Project, New York, they were all like, wow, that's happening in Corpus? Because they built ours. This offers sponsorship. This encourages competition. This brings outside revenue in for competitions. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who has been helpful in expanding the skate community here in Corpus Christi. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rios. Rachel Caballero.
Rachel Caballero, 522 Hancock, pronounced Rachel. Good afternoon, elected representatives of the people of this community and our taxpayer-paid staff. Good to be back, just kidding. All right, so obviously there is an issue here and nobody wants to address the white elephant in the room. I wasn't gonna speak today because a lot of my community, I just wasn't, but a lot of my community members could not be here today because of the inclement weather. Public comments are lasting between an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes the last few weeks. Not sure if you guys are paying attention to this. That means you have a disgruntled community. We're not happy. The same issues are being addressed every week. Same issues. We don't want our utility rates raised, and we don't want our tax rates raised. We don't want for the city to go into business with a hotel at the American Bank Center because, quite frankly, you guys have proven time and time again that you can't maintain your own properties. Case in point, City Hall today with this rain. You know, people are complaining about the water users, right? We're fronting the bill, the community, for multi-billion-dollar industry. Multi-billion with a B, like our budget, B. We don't want to subsidize industry anymore, and I'm not sure how many times we have to say this to elected officials. We want for industry to pay their fair share in their water rates and their taxes, because as you've all witnessed, industry is not a good community member, because they have now put Nueces County and Teloso ISD into a major financial position because they're refusing to pay their fair share in taxes. So at some point, I would like, especially some of the older people that have been in politics for 34 years, to understand that industry is not our friend, and we have to quit subsidizing them. And there isn't true transparency here. We're not, as a community, we're not getting this. I got charged $107 for 3 text messages from a city staffer. $107. You want to tell me that's right? It is not. And the rejections that I'm getting from the Public Information Office are also from their excuses from 1990 that they're trying to use. So this is not showing that we are a transparent local governing body. This is not showing that we have a city staff that is rooting for the people and is behind the community. And that needs to change, because at the end of the day, you guys are all up for replacement next year, and we'll do it. We'll campaign for it, just like we're coming here every week to let you know how displeased we are with the service that we're getting from the people we pay. It's frustrating, and as soon as hopefully you guys see that here soon.
Thank you, Ms. Caballero. Let's see, I think that's all the in-person public comment. Ms. Huerta?
Okay, so virtual, we do have Sharins Del Sus.
Yes.
Right, you ready to start?
Hi. Shireen Del Sus, 6030 Tapestry Street. Please play video provided.
We would like to advocate for protected bike lanes. It's great for fun, the local economy, the environment, health, and even safety. Instead of this, let's have bike lanes like this. Instead of this, let's add a physical barrier. How about this? People in the city say with a straight face that fixing potholes takes precedence over protected bike lanes. This begs the question: why does a slight jostle a driver experiences take priority over the life of cyclists? The transportation department in the city should prioritize safety over luxuries. Bike accidents are constantly in the news. There have been over 65 cyclist accidents consistently every year. This crash data is publicly available online. How many times have you seen in the news about potholes causing accidents? The only potholes that should be fixed should be the ones that can cause accidents. Fixing slight cosmetics is a luxury. There is a petition of more than 1,000 signatures. There are state and federal grants. Demand and funding is there. In Austin, protected bike lanes have reduced accidents and fatal crashes by 82%. Protected bike lanes can reduce accidents by up to 90%. This is according to a study published in the American Journal of Public Health. This is common sense and backed up by multiple studies from reputable peer-reviewed journals and government officials. Look at the city memos from New York to Austin. How could you deny the validity of all the city's independent reports? How could they be all lying? How could you ignore these critical safety statistics? I cannot believe how warped car culture is here. The transportation department in the city should prioritize safety over luxuries. I'm sorry for anyone who may have had their coffee spill in their car because of a pothole. But the priority for the city is to save human lives. If something as easy as protected bike lanes can reduce accidents by up to 90%, why won't they do it? Why does potholes take precedence over human lives when at least 65 cyclists get into accidents from car collisions every year. What is being done to fix that? For more information on our advocacy efforts, follow us on Instagram at iBikeCC. Sign our petition at ibikecc.com.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, Ms. Del Sus. Next, we have Amanda Guerra.
Hello, this is Amanda Guerra. Am I coming through?
Yes, ma'am, you are.
Okay, hello, council members and staff. I would like to thank each of you that hosted your district meetings with your input sessions discussing the proposed budget for 2023 and 24. I attended District 5 and was very happy with the outcome. And according to Peter, it was the biggest turnout. So to my district representative, thank you. This community outreach is greatly appreciated. And of course, I can't, not come on here and not say anything about the marshals because I feel like we are also a community outreach. I would hope that the numbers that I presented before this council last Tuesday would raise some questions. It is being said that we do not produce, and we brought in 705 more warrants than CCPD in the 3 months that the clerk used for his presentation. Now, when I talk about CCPD, I don't want y'all to think that it's an us against them because we are both agencies that work together and we're just trying to help these individuals clear their cases. So instead of dissolving a department, I would like y'all to think of how about adding 2 more marshals instead of closing our department, and imagine how many more warrants we could get. Like this is just something really great. And also I've been finding some other discrepancies with the clerk's presentation where I have highlighted, it says that we only do subpoenas within the city limits, and this is not correct. Subpoenas and summons. We go as far as Mathis, Ingleside, Portland, Rockport, Sinton, Edroy. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because, once again, overseeing a department and running the day-to-day operations are 2 different things. The clerk oversees it, but our boss runs it daily. So obviously the clerk doesn't know that we do subpoenas and summonses out of town. Not often, maybe 3 times a month, but they are done. And so with that, thank you, all of y'all, and have a good day and enjoy the beautiful rain. God bless you.
Thank you, Ms. Guerra. Last, we have Victoria Holland.
Hello, let me see if I can get this video going. Hi! I'm so pleased to be here. Thank you so much for being here, council members. And I just want to commend you if you are on the council or if you spoke an open comment today, you braved the weather to be there in person. I did not, but I want to commend you all for doing that and making it. I'm actually here to echo some of the sentiments that you just heard from Officer Amanda Guerra. Looking at the study and looking at a lot of the facts that appear to exist in reality, but are not referenced in the study, it appears that there are so many holes and discrepancies behind the recommendation to remove the office of the court marshals. It just seems irresponsible to follow the recommendations of the study as is. And in fact, if anything, this highlights what I believe is an important factor in moving forward. I think that we all agree that we need, when we pay a third party, tens of thousands of dollars to produce a study, that we do expect it to be factual, to be accurate, and to take into account the realities on the ground where we live. I don't think that that's absurd, and I know that everyone else echoes those sentiments. I think that this is a great opportunity to really analyze where we go to get some of these studies done, how we're vetting the folks that we get to do these studies. I'm not saying anything against the judge in this case that produced the study, but it would be good to know, for instance, what types of plans for this he had. It appears his whole plan at this point was to call the clerk. He did not intend to do in-person interviews. He did not intend to do much greater research beyond that. And so it does bring, for me, a question of who are we trusting with these third-party surveys? And are we vetting the type of information that they're looking to get? And are we making sure that it fits the needs of this city? So I just leave you with that food for thought, and with the my firm stance that I believe that the marshals should not be got rid of. Their responsibilities should not be put on the backs of our police department, who are already so understaffed. I think I've mentioned before that we're well below the recommended ratio of police officers per thousand in our city population. So if we look at them being understaffed and we try to add more responsibilities that the marshals were covering, I don't necessarily know that that's a responsible use of the rights and privilege of city council in regards to the safety of the people. Thank you all again so much for your time. I am going to stop this video, and I apologize if it was too long. Thanks. Bye.
Excuse me. Thank you, Ms. Holland. Mayor, that concludes the public comment period.
Thank you, Ms. Huerta. Okay, so were we gonna?
Mayor, just to clarify, just to add some comment on the water rates and the rate, making sure the rates are set so that each classification is paying the appropriate amount.
Mm-hmm.
I did present that as a professional recommendation to the city council. Ultimately, so the community knows, city council has to approve the rates, just like city council, according to the charter, has to approve the budget. So this city council would be the ones that will tackle that issue. We presented it to council numerous times now as a policy recommendation, the rate equity issue, if you will, as well as the entire budget. So,
Right.
But council, clearly it's up to the 9 elected individual council members to, according to the charter, set the budget, approve the budget, and approve rates. I just want to make that
Right.
point this morning.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Zanoni. Mr. Hunter?
I just want to clear up a false statement that I made earlier. I looked up my phone history because I was sure that I had contacted you on that subject. It wasn't. It was definitely someone at the city, but it was not you, and I apologize for making that statement.
I appreciate that, Councilman. No
No
offense.
problem.
Yeah, no offense taken. We're going to work with
But
Ms.
they do need to get
Underbrink.
on it, and I'm not going to bring anyone's name into it.
Yes,
'cause
sir.
that
We'll look into it.
Sewage explosion, those pictures didn't do it justice. It was really bad, unfortunately.
Right, no problem. We're going to look into it. And I
Thank
think
you.
the staff's already engaging to figure
Okay.
out what happened. Thank you.
No, you're fine. So that takes us to, Mr. Zanoni, your comments and update on city operations.
That's right. Okay, great. So today we just have one city manager comments on operations report, and that is going to be Mike Murphy, our Chief Operating Officer over Corpus Christi Water. He is going to provide city council and the community listening with an update on our work on 4 alternate water sources. Yesterday, after in one of our comments we made in the 5-hour work session was, do we still need more water as a region? And the answer definitely is yes, without any doubt. And so we have been looking at the city's 2 city council approved locations for seawater desalinization, that being the Inner Harbor and the La Quinta site. We have been working based on the city council approved MOU with the Port of Corpus Christi. They've been helping us on our 2 sites, and we've been working with them on their 1 preferred site, which is Harbor Island, using a consultant they hired to see how would that site be integrated into the water system of the city, or CCW. And then we have looked at 2 other locations, or 2 other sources, one being another seawater desalinization plant at the Barney Davis power plant location. We had a study done there. Mike Murphy's going to give us an update on it. And Mike Murphy also spent time with TCEQ to better clarify permitting requirements. He'll provide that today. And then finally, Evangeline groundwater is something we've been working on in earnest over the past 6+ months, I think, at this point. The owners of that water have, in recent times, put together a better business proposal, hired engineers and consultants that deal with water, and that's why this one is advancing more than it has in the prior years. But nonetheless, Mike Murphy's going to give us an update on that as well this morning. So that's just an introduction, and we'll turn it over to Mike.
Okay, thank you. And Mike, before you start, I think what we're going to do is we're going to have Mike go ahead and go through the entire presentation. So any questions you have, just kind of jot them down or remember them. And then at the end, we'll do all the questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Mayor, Council. Good morning. It's our afternoon. It seemed like we spent a lot of time together yesterday. And so here we are again. So I'll try to get through this quickly. So let me go. So the first one we're going to talk about is the Harbor Island Seawater Desalination Site. This project is estimated to be somewhere between 50 and 100 million gallon per day site. I think most of the council has toured this, taken the tour of this facility to kind of get an idea of the location of it. But we did put a photo here to kind of show where that is in relationship to Port Aransas and the ship channel. The city and the port are meeting on a weekly basis. This is part of the MOU between the port and the city that directed the city manager and staff to work with the Port of Corpus Christi CEO, or interim CEO and staff. And so we are meeting on a weekly basis. I think we've met 4 or 5 times now. We meet on WebEx 3 of the 4 weeks out of the month, and then the 4th week out of the month, we're planning to have face-to-face with the upper-level executives. The Port of Corpus Christi's consultant, which is Pape Dawson Engineers, that is working on their seawater integration plant. And what that basically means is how the Harbor Island project, if constructed, would integrate that water into the city of Corpus Christi and to better serve our residents, customers, and commercial business owners. There is also a part of that that will serve the industrial users on the north side of the bay. The timeline, Pape Dawson is going to be giving an overview of the status of the integration project to the Port of Corpus Christi on September the 19th in the morning. And then after that meeting, they're coming over here to update City Council on the same thing so that everybody's on the same page. And we'll make sure that we get that on the agenda for the 19th. The timeline for permits still yet to be determined. Timeline to construct still yet to be determined. And then the estimated cost, that's in progress right now. All right, like Peter was saying, the Evangeline groundwater project is moving along very quickly. It doesn't feel like that, but the city hired HDR to do an in-depth study, about a $90,000 study of the project. And working with Pape Dawson, who is the engineer of record for Laguna Evangeline on the groundwater system, has been completed. That study has been completed, and HDR delivered their results to us. So what we're doing right now is we're looking at the 5 options on the Evangeline site on how to deliver water to a point of an integration point in the city, and the sites that we've looked at are above San Patricio into the Mary Road Pipeline, below San Patricio into Mary Road Pipeline, an extension to San Patricio Municipal Water District. We've even had conversations with GCV to determine if they would be interested in partnering with us on that water. And then mostly the one that we like the most is the one that comes into the city at a location near Owen Stevens water treatment facility. Now this project also will include not only the pipeline and a well field that can produce up to 25 million gallons per day, 17 deep water wells. It would also have the need for a brackish saltwater desalination facility, either at the site of the well field or closer to the integration point. So that will be another prospect on that site. The timelines for permits and easements is a pretty lengthy process, probably in the neighborhood of 2 to 5 years. And the biggest part of that would be right-of-way acquisition, depending on where we locate the integration point. The timeline to construct, according to the Evangeline contractor, is somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 to 4 years to construct. And then the estimated cost, those are things that we're currently working with our engineer of record before we meet again with the Evangeline.
On that one, can I add, Murphy, and for the council? So one thing, yesterday we talked about Evangeline, and I misstated that Gulf Coast Growth Ventures was willing to pay for infrastructure. I misunderstood a conversation we had. Paul Fritsch made it clear that they're not interested, nor have they said in the past that they would be interested in paying for infrastructure.
They're not.
They're not interested in paying for infrastructure to get water from the source. However, they have provided persons on our work team to kind of investigate and represent Gulf Coast Growth Ventures and learn. So they're interested in learning. They have not stated that they are interested in paying any infrastructure.
Okay.
Paul Fritsch from Gulf
Exxon.
Coast,
Sound
Gulf
like-
Coast Growth Ventures. Yesterday in their
Or-
work
yeah.
session, towards the end, I had stated I thought they were. I misunderstood a conversation we had had. So that's one thing. The other thing is HDR did look at numerous alternatives. And we have price points. At this point, soon we're going to be meeting with the representatives from Evangeline and the city council, because we're at a point where we have enough information to present this now to the council to policy discuss. Do we continue to move forward? We can show council the rate implication, the cost implication, the risk implications. There's really not too much more studying that needs to take place at this point on Evangeline.
Okay.
On Evangeline, it's pretty much HDR did a great job on their assessment.
Right.
They have financial data, they have routes and alternatives, and at this point, we're going to meet with the owners of Evangeline, Ed Cross, or the representatives, I should say, and present our findings. There may be some back and forth on price points. Ultimately, they need to price what the water cost would be. We know what the infrastructure cost would be and the treatment cost, but the price for the water, the raw water, so to speak, is to be determined. So we're getting extremely close to moving this as a policy option discussion with the council.
Thank you, Peter.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Peter. All right, so the Barney Davis desal plant, and this is another one I think the majority of council have had a chance to take a tour of the Talon power generating electric facility, which is also known as the Barney Davis site. So HDR was also our consultant on this one, where we hired them to do a desktop evaluation of the project site to determine the feasibility, project timeline, and the regulatory permit requirements for that facility. So all those things have been completed. And this is a viable project. I want to make sure all of these are viable projects. These are all doable. They can be done. It just depends on what direction we eventually want to go with these projects. So this is a viable project, and that was the determination of HDR. Now, the timeline or the issues with this project, you've got the feasibility of how long it's going to take to do this project. And it was such a long time to construct. I mean, the project originally came in as be very quick to do. And if we did 6 million gallons or less, which is what their consumptive use permit has, it could be a short turnaround on the permits. However, if you go in and amend the permits, which is what we are asking TCEQ to give us their opinion on, to amend the permits, or whether we should go in and get our own permit and have that side by side with the Barney Davis or the Talon permit, that's a big question here. So we did meet with TCEQ. We went, it was Friday 2 weeks ago, that a small group of us went and actually met with TCEQ to talk about the status of the Inner Harbor facility and also the Barney Davis facility. And at that meeting, we were told that it's probably a 7 to 10 year timeline to acquire permits for the Barney Davis site. And that was due to just the timeline of starting the permits from scratch, modeling from scratch, having to go through the whole process and getting that to the point that we could have permits approved to start procurement and then eventually construction. So we wanted to verify that with TCEQ, because in the HDR report, they did say that it would be about a 10-year timeline to go from where we are today to the points of having permits approved so we could start construction. And one of HDR's recommendation was have a meeting with TCEQ to confirm the numbers that they were giving us. So that was an eye-opener for us. And the challenge is that the permits that the Barney Davis Talon folks currently have are not the same permits that would be required to have a desalination facility. And so to make those changes, make those amendments to a 20 to 50 million gallon per day plant is what is the need for the new permits. The timeline to construct, similar to the other projects, about three to 4 years, which puts a total timeline from today somewhere in the 10 to 14 year or maybe even a little bit longer timeline to do that project. And the price right now is somewhere in the $300 to $500 million price range. Now, the other thing is we could shorten that timeline for permits if we go out into the Gulf. that is a possibility to go underground and take the discharge and then take into the Gulf. That would add extensively to the budget on the project, but and it would result in possibly shaving about 2 years off of the permit timeline. Not a great savings, but some, if that's something that we're interested in doing.
Right, and then on that one, we did email council the report from HDR on the Barney Davis. I think it was last week. We emailed that to the full city council. And then let me just say, Murphy said that each of these 4 are viable projects. I just want to make, I don't want council or the community to misunderstand what we're saying. That each of them has a cost element and a environmental element. While some may be viable, they may be financially or environmentally constrained or challenged. So something's viable, but it may not be affordable. I just want to point that out.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
sir.
exactly
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
And every project is going to have those issues, no matter where you're at, whether it's groundwater or desal. The La Quinta, The La Quinta site, we are moving along with that site. We just got word this morning, I believe, that TCEQ estimates that they will have our intake permits ready for approval, or is that right? Is that the right term, Esteban? Ready for approval the first of the year, end of this year, first of next year is what we're looking at on La Quinta site. It is a little bit behind. Well, not a little bit. It's a lot behind where the Inner Harbor site is. So this is the next logical step. And then we've also got our permit application in for discharge permits on the La Quinta site as well. The timeline to construct, that really is dependent on other factors on the north side of the bay. This is a phase 2 project with the Inner Harbor being the phase 1 project. Okay, Inner Harbor project, a lot of things are happening, as they say, over in the Inner Harbor. The water right intake permit has been approved back in October of 2022, the discharge permits. So when we met with TCEQ a couple of weeks ago, they did tell us that they are finalizing the technical review, and they will be passing that along to the permit team, hopefully sometime in October or November, at which time we hope to get a draft permit for discharge on the Inner Harbor site. Once we do that, we'll set up a public meeting with TCEQ. The Army Corps permits are our applications are in review. The Army Corps has temporarily withdrawn our permit application, and what this basically means is an administrative withdrawal. They had asked our engineer, Friesen Nichols, for additional information. They needed it within 30 days, and basically we couldn't get the volume of information they were requesting in 30 days, so they put an administrative withdrawal on the permits, and we hope to have the additional information requested to the Army Corps either this afternoon or first thing tomorrow. And we talked to Friesen Nichols this morning, and they are in conversation with the Army Corps, and those permits will be reinstated as soon as the additional information that Friesen Nichols is preparing delivers it to the Army Corps. They'll reinstate our permit, or the permit review process. Okay, and so land acquisition option contract has been signed with Flint Hills Resources, and then where we are right now is we feel like we're about 3 to 5 years in design and construction on that project. If we are successful getting our discharge permits later this year, early next. The estimated cost, we will be bringing a engineering proposal back probably within the next 2 or 3 weeks to allow Friesen Nichols to continue and do a final cost estimate as we enter into this next phase on Inner Harbor. If this is the site that council selects to move forward with, I need to make sure that that's in there. We are also going to be bringing to council a request to allow Friesen Nichols to apply for a $30 to $50 million grant with, oh my gosh. Thank you, the Bureau of Reclamation. Now, this is a grant, and this will also help offset some of the additional costs that we've experienced with inflation and price escalation in our business. And so that was a quick summary of where we are on our projects.
Okay, that's it?
I don't think we should prevent them from at least starting.
I can't hear you, sorry.
For the grant funding, for those of us that are for desal, I don't think that, I mean, do we need to take a vote?
We would bring
It
something
could
back
take
to.
forever, you know?
Yeah, we would bring it to city council, either
Yeah,
the
the
contract
vote
amendment or
is
the
to
grant.
approve the budget for Friesen Nichols. That would be the
Okay.
vote. Yes, sir. Sorry about that. I should have made that
Gotcha.
clear.
Sorry.
But it's to approve the funding for them to apply for the grant. But we've been told that this is a perfect project, and they're definitely looking for our submission, so.
Did they reach out to us, or we reached out to them? Esteban knows, yeah. This is different than the state-approved water source grant from the Water Development Board?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So, my team got direction from council and the city manager to look for funds to help bring down the costs. And so we've been actively working with the Bureau of Reclamation on opportunities to achieve this type of grant money. And the federal government, through the Build Back Better program that they established, has an opportunity for seawater desalination. And so we thought it would be a great opportunity to take advantage of that. So we're going to work with Friesen Nichols to do the study and then apply for this money. It's approximately $30 to $50 million of grant money from the federal government.
Right. Okay. Mr. Murphy, you said you've had 5 meetings roughly with the port? 5?
I think that's what it is. It's either 4 or 5.
Oh,
I mean, is
roughly.
that-
And
yeah,
and
yes,
what
ma'am. That's-
what are we discussing in 5
Okay,
meetings?
that's a good question. So what we're doing with the port right now is looking at points of integration into the city.
Right.
Because the agreement was this can't just be for large industry. It also has to be for the community users, for our residents and commercial businesses. So we have to find an integration point that delivers that water into our water system. And so what we're doing right now is we started off with 5 proposed routes to get that water back into our public water system. And so what we're doing is Pape Dawson is leading the conversation.
Right.
We're working with the port engineers and CCW water staff, trying to decide what we feel like would be the 2 best integration points. And so that's what the Pape Dawson engineers
Right.
on the 19th are going to be bringing back and showing you
Right.
those proposed routes. But right now, we're just looking at the best idea, and that's where our input is coming in, because it's got to work for us.
So it's input?
Yeah.
Because who's doing the integration study is Pape Dawson. We don't do that.
That's correct.
Okay.
We're-
Because that's a
we're-
lot of meetings. And here's my point, and I just want to be on record. The MOU states, before I go there, in these 5 meetings, what has come, Peter? You were there, I guess, right?
I've been at one of them, yes, ma'am.
Okay, Pete, then, okay, Mr. Murphy.
Yes, ma'am.
So what has come from those? What can you report to this council to say, council, based on our MOU, not theirs, our MOU.
Okay.
Our MOU is what this council directed to move forward. So where are we? What is the response to the MOU that we passed that says, go create a framework for the Port of Corpus Christi to help the city of Corpus Christi in our water resource, right, activity?
Right.
So what's the answer? I'm sure there is one, and maybe it's integration studies, or what is it?
So if I understand your question, what is it that we're doing to assist the port in this project? Or what are they doing to assist us?
No,
in
that's just the problem right there.
Yeah.
Is no, the MOU states, and I'm not going to get into depth here, but I want this on file, because this council passed an MOU.
Mayor, we don't have an MOU.
Well, not an MOU, a resolution, whatever it was.
No, we
So
didn't pass anything.
we did.
No, we didn't pass anything.
What did we call it?
I think it was a
We
directive.
directed the city manager to go meet
Okay,
with the board.
well, then it was a direction. Thank you for the clarification. The direction was to go create a framework in which the Port of Corpus Christi can help the city of Corpus Christi. And I'm not saying they're not. I just need you to tell me, in 5 meetings, I can't wait to see how, because you just listed out a lot of these feasible options. They may take 20 years or 10 or millions and millions of dollars, but they're still options, right?
Correct.
So in those 5 meetings, how is the port going to help the city?
Yeah. So if to help us with the Inner Harbor site, which I think was part of the direction, right? It was Harbor Island and Inner Harbor. It would be a financial assistance to us.
So have we spoken about that, and are they talking to
We
y'all
don't-
about the financial?
Yes.
On Inner Harbor?
Yeah,
And
we
the
have
reason
not.
I'm saying this,
We have
Mr.
not.
Murphy, is because there's so much focus on We're going to move on, guys, because we're already behind. There's so much focus. So I don't know if you think, well, the conversation does seem to be going a little more towards Harbor Island, Harbor Island, Harbor Island, because it is no secret that port commissioners want
Right.
desal at Harbor Island. And I'm not saying that should not necessarily be the case, but if we think 7 years is going to be a long time to 10 on a location, you know, that would have some opposition, Harbor Island, that's like an understatement. So please just enlighten me on
Yeah.
all of these meetings and how in the end are they helping us?
Okay, so the way that I foresee all of this to help us is once we do the study that Friesen Nichols that I just mentioned to give us a better price range, because everything that we're doing on Harbor Island with the port, we've already done on Inner Harbor. So we really don't need this large committee. We don't need to have this conversation. We've already got our integration point located, and so all that. So it's just going to strictly be how can you financially help us or support us in our permit application process. That's it. That's pretty much it.
Weeks that he was there between the council's direction and Sean's departure. With respect to Sean, when he was there, he toured the Inner Harbor with some of the port commissioners to understand our location. Sean and I talked about, and Kent and I talked about if the voters approve that Water Development Board funding for alternative water sources, that we do a joint application. That's working collaboratively. We have talked about a little bit about Evangeline, and we're going to bring them being Kent, into the meetings now that we have our data to see what is your interest in helping us either pay or route the water to a customer of yours through the city. And then another project that has been on kind of the radar. There's a West Texas group that wants, or at least a local person wanting to use water rights, water from West Texas, and bring it here. Kent and I. Yeah. Yeah. The microphones are back on now.
Hello.
So Kent and I have been working collaboratively based on the council direction.
Well, okay.
Yes, and then just one final thing is we know that they're interviewing for the CEOs, and so there's a little bit of not holding necessarily. Kent's working as if he's the CEO, but we know that they're interviewing. I think Charlie Zahn told me last week that this week or next week. So interviews are coming up. So we still have agreements in place. Kent and I do, and we're going to continue to work together. And we know, and I know clearly what this council approved, which is a statement saying that the port works with the city to better the city's chances of
Right.
improving
Well,
our water
in my
system.
opinion, again, on record, that's not happening. If it's taken 5 meetings and y'all are still sitting here saying to us, we need to ask them about the financial, what financial help they can give us, whether it be at Barney Davis or Inner Harbor, and that question has not been asked and answered, then I'm not sure what we're doing in 5 meetings. And that's a lot of city resources.
Mayor.
I understand. I'm sorry. We'll get to you right in a moment,
Okay.
Councilman.
I just want to clarify.
No,
before we go too
hold on,
deep.
Councilman. I'm sorry. There's other people in line, and I am making my comments, just like everyone else will be able to. My concern is meeting after meeting after meeting. We have our process moving forward, and it is moving forward. We have had weekly conversations. This is too critical. It is too critical an issue that if we're going to meetings to talk about Harbor Island, there's a file, and I'm not against Harbor Island. If they want to pay for it and they want to go through all those environmental issues and all everything that's happening now. Like, I'm not sure why we would want to get involved in all that, because you think 10 years is a long time. There's a lot going on there. And we have a great path that we are moving forward on right now. And the focus, that's my point, Peter, is the focus needs to be, you guys are the ones going to the meetings. The focus needs to be on what this city needs to move us forward, because I don't have to tell y'all, our water percentages are going down every single day. And everyone on this council wants to move forward and secure water for all of us. So that is just my concern. And when I hear that we've had meeting after meeting after meeting, and in the end, all that's happening is they're paying Pape Dawson a few $100,000 to go do an integration study. That's all. That's bottom line. What's happening at Harbor Island? Pape Dawson is gonna go do an integration, or is doing one. That's great. So how are they going to help us? That was my concern. That is my concern, and I believe that we need to have some better answers. If y'all are going to keep going to these meetings and there's an integration study happening, great. Be my guest. There are 2 studies, by the way, that will tell you how much it's going to cost at Harbor Island. That's on top of all the Port A, that whole group. That doesn't even include the issues that are at Harbor Island because of that group. So again, I want to be on record, and I would like better answers in terms of what we're accomplishing at these meetings based on the direction that this council gave, not some MOU that's floating around at the port. I am not the port. I don't care about what MOUs were put together there. And I don't know how you deal with that, because they have an MOU that wasn't something that came to this council. The direction from this council was the direction that is on record.
Okay.
So anyway, that's
And I
my
apologize,
point.
I misspoke. I should have said directive instead of MOU. That just came
Well,
out.
and I
So-
repeated you, so I didn't mean, thank you for clarifying. It's not an MOU. Mr. Pesley.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say, and that the port's MOU that they passed didn't restrict us to any one specific
Right.
water source at all.
Right.
And that we could talk about anything we wanted to, and the importance of that MOU that they passed at their meeting was that they agreed to pay for half of whatever we do.
Oh,
So whatever, if it's Evangeline,
It's
if
news
it's
to
wherever
me.
it is, they have agreed to pay for half of it.
okay, so when did that happen? Because
It
I
happened when
have-
they passed their MOU.
Okay, that is, you guys need to explain this, because I just asked you what has happened in the last 5 meetings. That statement has never been said. No one has ever told me that the port is willing to pay 50%?
Well, wait a minute.
Councilman,
Yeah,
I've never heard this.
I'll get you a copy of it, Mayor.
No,
I've read it.
but I'm asking our staff in 5 meetings what we're discussing.
Well,
And if we're discussing the financial of 50% of $500 million or $300 million being paid by the port, and we haven't been told
Mayor,
this,
The 5 meetings we've had with the port and Pape Dawson strictly are in relationship to the water integration. No other conversations in those
Okay.
meetings. And there, I think we got minutes from all the meetings. It's only about alignment of
It says that.
integration pipeline into the system. These meetings
Well,
are not like
I-
what, these are just technical review meetings of engineers.
Well, Mike, I don't know, they agreed to pay for the engineering fees to study whatever y'all wanted to study. And y'all went over there and said, well, we want to talk about Harbor Island. I don't care what you talk about.
No, we didn't say that. We were invited
I
over
agree
there.
with the mayor on this. We need to find it, and I tell y'all this all the time. We need to find the shortest point between A and B, whatever that is. And if it's La Quinta, let's look at La Quinta. If it's the Inner Harbor, let's look at the Inner Harbor. And let's prioritize what we're doing and get something done. Because you give us these presentations, Mike, and I'm not knocking you a bit, this is not personal, but you give us these presentations, and it's like gloom and doom, it's 5 years, it's 7 years, it's this year. Well, find something that we can complete and get done, sit down with the port and figure it out. They agreed in that MOU to pay for half of whatever we want to do.
Okay.
Half the engineering, half the cost of the pipe, half the cost of the water, half the cost of whatever we do. Because ultimately, it benefits them as well, and they know that.
Well, I think we've mentioned it to council several times. Inner Harbor is our phase 1 location.
Go do it.
La
Yes.
Quinta is our phase 2 location.
Get her
but
done.
Then, well, let me
Yeah.
finish. And then we come up, and it's like, Murphy, go do a study on Evangeline. Murphy, let's look at Barney Davis. Now go meet with Harbor Island. And this takes up so much bandwidth in our process. Yeah, we're chasing our tail a lot. And it's not meant to be gloom and doom. I'm just trying to give you the best information that we're getting.
We've never been told that the bandwidth that you have to have is going to restrict you from doing what you're trying to do. If that's the case, then tell the council that.
I've
And we
told the
can,
council
we can
that.
decide whether or not we want to do that.
Yeah,
So if you want to talk about whatever, whichever one, then go tell the port guys,
Yeah.
Right. Peter, tell them, hey, Harbor Island's fine, guys, but we think the shortest solution for us now is to go forward with the Inner Harbor. Or whichever one, I don't care.
Right, based on what we know today, Councilman, we would do Inner Harbor right now, but for the permits. And Murphy said it's TCQ, who we just met with in person up in Austin. It gave us a timeline of late October, November, and then we have to have a public hearing. So that's in their hands. It's not, we would have this thing done by now if it was in our hands. That's that water source. Evangeline, we're going to be coming to you probably in the next 4 weeks. A decision has to be made that we're done on this one. We have the cost. We're going to show what the rate impact would be to the ratepayer. That's ready to go. So the council has to decide, do we want to do that source or not? Because they're ready to sell that water to anybody. Today we're saying today we're saying that the Barney Davis is we're not recommending it anymore. Unless the council tells us to move forward, the price tag is too big and too long to continue. The La Quinta's moving forward. You got the update from Murphy. And then the only other question is Harbor Island. And that one, the integration study is seeing to see, can we even use that as a source? How would you integrate it and what would be the cost? We need that information to see, is that a viable one? So that's still on the table. So there's three then that are the lead contenders: Evangeline, Inner Harbor, and Harbor Island. Because the La Quinta's
You don't think La Quinta is ahead of Harbor Island?
No, we don't have any land acquisition. We don't have any, we have no permits. Harbor Island has 1 permit.
I thought Mike just said we have a.
No, we have no permits on La
That
Quinta.
the permit was
We were
closed.
being
so-
told that first, end of the year, first of next year, we should have our intake permits.
Right, so
on-
Harbor Island
on
has a discharge
Quinta.
permit. We have no permits.
Okay.
They
Nobody
do not
does.
have they do not have a permit.
Harbor Island, well, they had one issued, but it was contested, I guess.
Exactly, so
Yeah.
they do not have a permit until they go through that process, and
Right.
that is a process.
Okay, they were issued a permit that needs to go through.
Okay, Councilman,
regulatory.
you good? Okay, so on that note, there's no way, based on what Councilman just said,
Right.
there's no way that you can say, or anyone can say, we don't recommend Barney Davis. Because if they're willing to pay 50% of it, and that's what we just said, then guess what? It just went up on the list.
Well,
And it goes, I understand, there's, the amendment, you can't really do an amendment, and the permits and all of that. But most importantly, here's the deal. we're having a conversation. If they're willing, which is what was just said, to pay half of whatever, then that needs to be brought to the council, please,
Okay.
and codified.
See if
If
we'll
that
find
is
out.
the case, they're willing to pay half of engineering or this or pipeline
Right.
or, then
We'll get
guess
the
what?
council.
Every single option just changed.
Yeah, we'll get the Port of Corpus Christi commissioners approved they call it an MOU. They approved a document
Right.
that said they would pay, I read that clause in there, that they would pay, I think Councilman Hernandez is familiar too, that would pay for 50%. We know that. So we'll send it to the council, make sure everybody has that copy. We're recommending today, Mayor, I'm telling you now, unless the council directs us, we're not recommending pursuing, even if the port paid for half for the Barney Davis because of the time. It's going to take 10 years.
Okay, but that should be at the core of your conversation with them.
They can't speed the time up any.
I don't care about the time.
Yeah.
The money. If they are at these meetings,
Yeah.
that we're investing a lot of time, your time, and they are willing to pay for half,
Yeah.
then that should be a big part of, okay, what are we considering and how does then it weigh into us considering the option? Because it's not being brought forth, Peter, that here's your option and the price tag might be this, but it really will be this, half. Because
Yeah.
the port's gonna do it. I mean,
Right.
I don't know where that is. I've never seen it because I don't work at the port, so I don't know about not one of our commissioners has, that I recall, sent me, or maybe they did. I don't know, because so many MOUs were flying around. So it doesn't matter who's emailed or that, or done whatever. It needs to come from you officially. If there is something that they are working by that is official on their end, then we should have that.
Yeah, we'll get it to you. It's they approved it at a commission meeting.
Okay. All right.
But but just to clarify, Mayor, the Barney Davis is not an issue of price necessarily that's driving a decision.
Mm-hmm.
It's about timeline. It will take it. TCEQ confirmed this, as well as our own consultant.
Understood.
It would take plus 10 years, over 10 years, just to get the permits. So to speak to one of the council members that just said, we got to get this stuff done, this one's the longest lead project. The shortest lead is Harbor Island. I'm sorry, the shortest lead is Inner Harbor, maybe La Quinta, Harbor Island, Evangeline's in the top, in a quick lead.
Right.
This is 10 years out. That's why we're saying this, unless the council says keep working on it, we're not going to work on it anymore. The Barney Davis site.
Okay,
Yeah.
Councilman Hernandez.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to have a couple of questions, and I'm going to go in the order that I wrote them down because we were asking about Evangeline first. Will San Patricio or Sinton contest the permits for the groundwater? Or have they made mention of that they would?
So we haven't heard that either one would, and we met with Sinton. Esteban, you want to give an update right quick on that?
You met with the city manager of Sinton, right?
Exactly. We did meet with the city manager of Sinton, and one of the key points is the drawdown of those wells not harming their well. And we won't know that until you actually start. And there will be a drawdown in this well field. So he was very adamant on not
So none of that
harming
was
his
done
well.
by Pape Dawson or HDR in terms of what that kind of drawdown would be?
No.
So
They only have one test well, and they haven't put in a second test well. We've been asking if they have, but they haven't gone there yet.
Okay.
They've issued, Councilman, they've issued concern. They've raised concern about it, is a fair statement. They didn't say they're going to contest it, but they raised the concern enough where we went to Sinton and the team did and met with the city manager.
Because I'm expecting a presentation from our HDR on this to come to council.
That's what I just said,
So,
yeah.
I guess you could expect them to have that question about the drawdown and what, because I mean, we have to permit this stuff just like anybody else does. And if there's a contestant, then that's going to add time as well.
Yeah, it's already permitted, Councilman. They have the permits to take the water out.
Okay.
They have the
So-
permits. The issue is they have to be renewed every 5 years. And the persons that sit on that water board that would approve a renewal are all landowners in the area of the
Okay.
well fields.
Well,
Yes,
there you
sir.
go.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so, and when does HDR plan to come, or when do you plan to come with that proposal?
To
Evangeline?
To council?
Probably
For
6
Evangeline.
weeks, about 6 weeks. We're going to meet with Ed
Yeah,
Cross
we-
and
We still have a
Evangeline
ways
people.
to go with them because we did expand their contract to look at cost points on this because it is, there are questions on the cost points. And so we amended their contract to go a little bit deeper in depth on this. So we still have to go with that final meeting with HCR on some of the things that we've asked them to do to kind of reverse engineer the numbers of the cost. And so they're in the process of doing that. Then we've got to meet, we got to have a face-to-face with the Evangeline people. And so once we get to a point where we have something to bring back to council,
Okay.
then we do that.
Yeah, I would say 6 to 8 weeks, but probably more closer to 6.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, and with regards to the permit request from the Corps of Engineers, how is it that Friesen Nichols, who's been working on this forever, not have the information needed for that?
Yeah, so there is a story behind that. So we were working extremely well with the Army Corps of Engineers and with their project manager. And somewhere midstream, they changed project managers. And a new person came in, and they identified through satellite photos that they identified 2 wetland areas that they wanted Friesen Nichols to prepare information for. And so that wasn't as part of the original application, because these 2 areas they identified as wetlands were actually demolished oil storage tank sites that I guess the satellite photo was right after a rain event or whatever, but these demolished tank sites were holding water. And from an aerial photo, it looked like wetland. So now they have, and this is based on a recent Supreme Court case, that at their request, we had to go back out, resurvey these well field or these tank sites and provide that information. And then they also requested different additional information on constructability of the site. So they gave us 30 days to do it, and we couldn't get it, or FNN could not get it done in those 30 days. And so they withdrew our application. Like I said, it was an administrative application. It wasn't a cancel to the application. They had a 60-day clock that starts once you turn in your application for review. And so the Army Corps said, instead of charging our time against you getting that additional information, we're going to put your project on hold. We're going to administratively withdraw your application until such time that you get this information back to us. And so it's taken us about 45 days instead of 30.
Okay. So moving on to the MOU with the port, we have not approved an MOU. You got to have 2 parties to an agreement in order for an agreement to exist. So the fact that they approve something doesn't mean that it actually exists, because we didn't approve it. So until we have that MOU come back to us and us approve it, to kind of give the outline of what agreement we would have going forward. And when I say agreement, it would have to be a contractual agreement with, you know, who pays for stuff. This is, the MOU was just an outline of what that looks like. Not, you know, they haven't really agreed to it. And I would ask Miles, the agreement has to be something that is contractual. MOU is more just like an outline. So we haven't even gotten to an agreement to what they would pay for yet, right?
We have not. We have not had that
Miles?
conversation with them. So.
MOU means Memorandum of Understanding. Normally, an MOU means it's not an agreement. It's distinct from an agreement, otherwise you would call it an agreement.
Correct. So we went through that because we looked at an MOA possibly, but that was kind of shot down because we weren't there yet. So until the Memorandum of Understanding was mainly an outline of how we would work together. I know, because I spent a lot of time on it. Now, I have been vocally opposed to a desal facility inside the harbor, inside the bay. Mm-hmm. Okay, I just don't believe the information from the technical documents that we got from Friesen Nichols that was done by Plummer, that putting 30 million gallons of brine into a small body of water that doesn't have enough water movement is the ideal situation. Now, I've been advocating for the Harbor Island location because it's closest to open ocean.
It's in the bay though, right?
Well, it's at the entrance of the bay. Okay, so the lesser of 2 evils, in my opinion, is the location that's closest to open ocean, where the salinity in the water doesn't change very much. Mm-hmm. In the bay, you have levels of salinity that go up and down, and we've been recording that for decades. You have everything from down, when we have wet seasons, down to 30 parts per thousand, all the way up to 42 parts per thousand in dry seasons. So having that kind of salinity going into the bay when you have such fluctuations, and that modeling did not include the worst case scenario, just a percentage of what is the effluent of what you're drawing in from the water coming in. I didn't really, in those modeling, I didn't see the worst case where you would have high salinity during the drought period of time. Now, I won't get into that technical discussion with you right now, but I can't support a salinity, a desal facility inside the bay. I won't do it. And so that's why I've been advocating for working with something that's closer to open
But Harbor
ocean.
Island's inside the
Harbor
bay.
Island.
Yeah.
Now, until we fill that MOU out, we don't really have, they're not going to pay for anything that we're doing, because we don't have, you got to have two parties to an agreement, right? They're got to have two parties. We got to put up on our end as well. And I think it's mutually beneficial for us and the port to work together, because we have the same customers. And it's pointed out by a lot of people in public comment, industry uses a lot of water, right? And they should, if we're going to be doing this, they need to pony up, right? Because it's, we may say it's for everybody, but realistically, it's because of them that we're having to go and get this water. And that's not a bad thing. Having jobs come in and diversifying our economy, like Steel Dynamics, which is not a petroleum-based company, it's not a bad thing, okay? But they really, they need to come to the table. We can't be, the residents can't subsidize them, and we've had this discussion in our workshop yesterday, okay? But that model has to come into place. But until we sign that MOU, they're not obligated to anything. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Campos.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Murphy, for
Yes,
the
ma'am.
presentation. We've been waiting for this for a while. I'm glad, I'm grateful to hear of my fellow councilman Hernandez state that it's not a good idea. We've known this for a long time, where we have the facts that, putting a desalination plant in the Inner Harbor is not good for the environment. It's not good for the people. So I wanted to state that. I did want to ask you about the Evangeline. Well, first, let's go back with the original. How much money have we spent? Can you tell me, and how much time have we spent on trying to get the desalination to fruition? Can you answer that?
Are
How
we
much
talking
money?
about Inner Harbor?
Both. How much time and money have we spent?
Yes, I don't know how much time, but about 10.5 million, because we just signed the option contract for $5 million.
So-
And even though we're not spending that 5 million, we're encumbering that 5 million on the Flint Hill side.
But we spent, Esteban, how much have we spent to date? It's been about a decade, and we've been working on this for about
10
10 years. Yeah.
That timeline, yes.
10
about
years,
10
right.
years and approximately about $10 million on the seawater desalination.
10 million
project.
outside of the option contract? Or including?
Including the option contract.
Without the option contract, though, because we didn't spend that money yet.
About I'm closer to, off the top of my head.
Okay.
About almost $7 million.
About $7 million in 10 years is the answer.
And still zero.
No,
We
we
have.
No.
Well, according to this, you still don't have the permits, the outtake.
No, we do.
No?
We have an intake permit on the Inner Harbor. We have applied for both the discharge permit for the Inner Harbor and La Quinta. And we've also applied for the intake permit for the La Quinta site. So all of our permits are in the process, and we have achieved actual permits. So the work that has been going on has been it's been affordable. We've gotten great responses back from the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, and we're also working with the Texas Department of TWDB for our grants that we got from the SWIFT. So we're utilizing funds that our taxpayers in this region paid to the state and are coming back to it through the SWIFT fund. So the citizens of the city of this community are actually getting that resource that they just send up to the state and they never see it. We're actually going to get it back in these low interest loans.
And just to summarize, Councilwoman, so on Inner Harbor, just taking that location, we have applied for and been awarded a low interest loan from Texas Water Development Board over $200 million.
I remember.
The city council approved a real estate contract, so we have the option to buy the real estate. That's been achieved. There's been a power study that is completed. So how we would get power to that site has been completed, nearly completed by AEP Texas. We have we have years of modeling showing, contrary to what some council members have said, and we respect what they're saying, but we have scientists and engineers modeling the impacts of the salinity to that body of water. Other entities don't have that. We have that extreme modeling that's taken years to do. And we have an integration study and analysis done. So a lot has been done. And it has taken a long time, 10 years. But the results are what we just said.
I appreciate that, Peter, but I will have to at least say for now, again, we still don't have everything that we need to move forward. And even if we did, the estimated timeline that we would be looking at, I don't even see it here. Timeline? Yeah, for Inner Harbor?
Yeah, another 3 to 5 years, Councilwoman, for construction.
that?
It's not on the page, but
It is.
Esteban just told it to me. 3 to 5 years.
Okay, so, and let's look at the Evangeline alternative. That also says timeline for permits, easement and right-of-way is 2 to 5 years, and timeline to construct 3 to 4 years.
But
So
those are
does that mean 5 years, or does that mean 9 years altogether?
No, the
or-
maximum is 5. So we would, if we were to pursue this with the council's approval, we would work on construction while we're doing right-of-way and permits and that type of thing, and easements.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
The other clarification I wanted to get is, we've had that 25 cent exempt fee.
Right.
And how much do we have collected so far in that fund?
24 million?
24 million into this year, probably.
24 million?
Yeah.
So we have 24 million, right, that we could also use to fund the Evangeline project. Is that correct? Plus,
That's
hopefully, if in the future, we also would have an agreement with the port to help us with the Evangeline project. Is that something that's feasible, that's possible?
Well,
Yeah?
I
Yes?
don't know. I mean, you just heard the same conversation I heard about have they agreed to paying for that? I don't know.
But at least the exempt,
It might be, let's just put it in the might be possible category. And as far as the $24 million, that's money that's available for any additional new water source, whether it's Evangeline, Inner Harbor, La Quinta, Barney Davis, whatever.
okay. And let's say we were to use that money, let's say we decide, miracles do happen, that we decide to go with Evangeline. So we could use that money, that 24 million, right, to fund this project that we would get water in 5 years, or wait on the Inner Harbor and possibly wait another, what?
5 years.
It's the same
Not
5
a- not
years?
a-
Same
Yeah, it's the
5
same
years,
5
depending
years.
on the permits,
But-
right?
But you would also be looking at the destruction of the environment, on my end, for me. I also believe the same as my fellow councilman Hernandez feels, that, I don't think this desalination plant is the best, or the Inner Harbor is the best place for it. But I can't, all I can do now is speak for the people that elected me, and that I stand with them, that I feel that a desalination plant is not a good fit, not now. We should be and should have been looking at alternative sites, just like we were, which I know Peter has said that we didn't have the model, or we didn't have all the information that we needed for the Evangeline project. But I am grateful to, again, Councilman Hernandez. I remember a few years ago when he did ask for the presentations of those other alternative sources. And I know it took a lot from him and some of the other councilmen to have that presentation. So one other thing, let me see. The HDR, the information that we received yesterday from, was it New Gen? What is the name of the company?
Yeah, New Gen, the rate modelers, yes, ma'am.
And didn't they state that it was HDR that had done the review of the water rates? Wasn't it HDR, the same company that we're working with now?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Different division, but yes, ma'am, same parent company, HDR.
Okay.
It's a big company, so they have various, divisions, so to speak, or businesses within that big company.
Well,
They're an international company.
It just makes me think twice about some of the information that HDR is providing. I know it's a different department, only because all these years we've been dealing with HDR and they never uncovered the information that Next Gen was able to figure out in less than a year. So I'm just questioning whether HDR has done has done their homework thoroughly.
One of the top engineering companies in the country, HDR, just so you know.
Well, but I'm sure there's others, right? Not just HDR. So anyway.
Yeah, there's Friese Nichols, another top engineer in the country.
Another popular. Those are the only two that I've heard, so. Okay, and then, what was this about what y'all said, Peter, about Gulf Coast Ventures? What is it that you mentioned earlier?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. So yesterday, as part of our 5-hour budget work session, I made a comment that Gulf Coast Growth Ventures was willing to pay for infrastructure to get water transported from the Evangeline if that well field was turned on. The CEO, president, sent me an email saying that's not accurate, Peter. So I wanted to point out for the record that it was my understanding they were, but in fact what they had done is put people from their company embedded with us when we were looking at these options. So they were committed to evaluating, not necessarily paying for any infrastructure. Yeah, so they're not willing to pay for any infrastructure. That was confirmed with an email from Paul Fritsch this morning.
And just to confirm, how much water do they use?
Do we have a contract for how much? 20-some odd
I know
million?
you sent it to us. Do you remember, Stefan? Aren't they like the top water users?
They have a take-or-pay contract for approximately 13 MGD. They use about that much. They could top out about 25 MGD, million gallons a day.
Between 13 and 25
But they're
million gallons of water per day.
But they're at 13, a little under 13 MGD.
Okay. Just I wanted the public to know how much water they use from us.
That's how much they're buying from San Patricio. Just so you know.
All right.
Facts, just true facts.
Councilman Suckling.
Thanks, Mayor. First off, Mike, on Evangeline, I was surprised at the time frames because when I had my briefing, 4 or 5 months ago, I asked specifically, once we contracted, what it would take to get water, and it was roughly 3 years minimum, and now we're at 5 years minimum. So what's been the delta there?
So the finding from HDR's desktop survey was that the existing permits at, wait a second, are we talking Barney Davis or Evangeline?
Evangeline.
Oh, Evangeline. Yeah, so this is not just permits, this is right-of-way acquisition, because they gave us several routes. I think they gave us 5 proposed routes. And so we put a broader range in there depending on the pipeline and how it integrates into the system. Some are shorter, some are easier, like one is much less because it goes right into the Maryville pipeline. One goes at just above San Patricio. One goes just below San Patricio. One brings it all the way in to Owen Stevens. And so that's why we put the range on there. Some may be shorter. Like if we went into all the way to Owen Stevens, it would probably be a lot more right-of-way acquisition and right-of-way permitting and things like that to get it all the way to the Owen Stevens plant. About 18 miles, I think, something like that.
Okay.
That 5 years is the worst-case scenario, Councilman, as cautioned by HDR. I think Evangeline owners said 2 years, but that's probably too optimistic. So it's somewhere in between the 2 and 5. It depends on the route that ultimately is selected. If we did, one route is, as an example, taking it from their well field and mid-pointing it to one of the pipes that goes to Sampat Water District. There's no right-of-way right now that we have, so if that route was chosen, that could be a worst case 5 years. HDR thinks it's going to take a little bit of time, a little bit longer than what Evangeline folks have said to engineer the well field. There's 17 different big well shafts that have to be drilled. So I think most optimistic is probably 3 years. But we have to begin to see, do we want that? And we're close. I'm saying within 6 weeks, and I'm gonna push it to see, is that a source we want to contemplate engaging and entering into a contract or not? Because we have everything we need to know at this point.
Yeah, and then the other thing that Esteban just reminded me of, there is a desalination facility that will have to accompany this site just because of the brackish water. And there will be permitting required for the desal plant depending on where we discharge. So not as rigorous as what we're going through right now on these major desalination plants, but there is a reverse osmosis component to this process.
My only other question on Evangeline is, or maybe just a comment, is I haven't seen the proposal, but I understand it's pricey water compared to where we're at now.
Right.
Obviously, with inflationary pressures and the way that things have spiked over the years, if we're on a 3-year minimum path to get water from them, if we do come to an agreement with them, I'd like to know their methodology for coming up with their current proposed rate.
Right.
And like we talked about yesterday, we ought to be able to use that methodology to say we expect to pay no greater than the amount that they're proposing now at whatever point the spigot turns on 3 years from now. We ought to be able to use that methodology. Show us your methodology, and if inflation subsides or prices start to soften, we ought to benefit from that.
No, so obviously that'd be part of the contract, but what we're doing right now, like I had said earlier, we're taking their numbers, we're reverse engineering those to sort of fit into our scheme, and then without putting all of our cards on the table, we still have extensive negotiations with Evangeline on their price points.
Moving on to Barney Davis, thank you for the briefing that you and Esteban gave me late last week. It feels like that report was kind of like that HDR didn't really want to step out a whole lot. It seemed very conservative.
It was.
So with that being said, and certainly Talon was mentioned in there a lot. I would hope that if we haven't already, that we've provided a copy of that report to Talon. Not that I expect them to come back and contest anything that was said.
Right.
But I think that they've been very open and gracious with their time and effort to try and collaborate with us, that we ought to share that with them.
They absolutely have, and we can do that.
Okay.
We wanted to make sure we had this conversation first before we start putting the HDR report out.
Okay, thank you. And lastly, just I know I'm kind of late in the line here, and there's been a lot of discussion about it, but in terms of the collaboration with the port, I've always thought all the discussions that have centered around working together was the benefit of them sharing in the costs. So, yeah, it doesn't sound like we have anything documented, but certainly that's been the benefit of us coming together and working together. Yeah. So, thanks for your efforts.
And like I said, I think those are forthcoming. The conversations, this is strictly an engineering exercise that we're going through right now. In the meetings that we've had with them so far, this is not the level that would discuss, whatever was in that agreement. This is not that level. This is just us working with their engineer.
Yes, Councilman Roy.
I also met with the Evangeline group and had conversation with Peter, and we had an in-depth, and I think I asked some of the questions in terms of time frame 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And I'm a little confused because you're saying how many wells, in order to yield 15 to 25 MGD, how many wells do we need?
So if you go with the 25 MGD, which is the maximum output of the well field. I think it was 17 individual wells over a 23,000 acre area.
That's their recommendation, they're being the, the Evangeline property owners.
How many wells does Sinton have right now?
One.
They just have one.
That's about saying two.
Two, I'm sorry, two.
They have
wells,
two.
yeah.
And it handles their population in Sinton, and it's also, they don't treat that water, right? It's drinkable.
I think they polish that water.
I don't think so. Do they?
What's called
I
polishing.
was told
You'd
that-
have to add, when
There's
they
some
say
minor
polishing,
treatment to
you'd
it.
have to do a chlorine
Okay.
treatment to it. Is that-
There's some minor treatment that's
All right,
into it.
minor treatment.
Right.
So my question is, in order for us to get the amount that we need, we got about 17 wells, hence that's part of the reason why possibly Sinton, the city may be a little bit concerned in terms of sinkage or whatever causing a problem with the environment, right?
Subsidence, right.
Yeah, drawdown.
Subsidence and an impact on their wells that they use today.
But we were told and okay, I understand, and I know Houston recently has had some issues in terms of subsidence.
Right, they have.
With their groundwater.
Yes, sir.
At what point in time and what study or who makes that determination what the risk is in terms of on the environment if we do 17?
Well, that, obviously deep pockets, right? But that would fall on the Evangeline people because they've already got their permit. And this is what they're telling us, that they've got approved permits for this water. But if we're their number one customer buying the 25 million gallons per day of water from them, we'd probably be part of that conversation.
If we only bought 15 MGD of water from them, how many wells would we need?
So what would that be, go 10, probably 10,
10.
10-ish, 9, 10, something like that.
Because I know when I met with them, they basically said they could have it up and running in 18 to 24 months. And that did seem, and that was using the closest pipeline.
Right, that was putting into the, our existing Mary Rose pipeline, which
That's
nobody
right.
is recommending on this end. Because of the water, there's a different quality of water, and we're afraid of the corrosiveness to the pipe, frankly. Plus, if you put the brackish water into the clean water, we're gonna need a reverse osmosis for all the water.
But what are we talking about brackish? Because this is the first I've heard that
It has
Evangeline.
well, let's use words, not, sorry to interrupt, but salinity, it has a higher salinity.
It does have a higher salinity.
That's why nobody's used it yet. It has a higher salinity level. It does need some treatment. Nobody's denying that. They've talked about a blending concept. But HDR, who in this case is our consultant of record, they're not recommending we blend it. And so there would have to be some treatment at the site or at the endpoint of the distribution. I mean, we're believing the consultants that we hire. That's why we're paying them. We have confidence in them, and that's what they're telling us, is there's plenty of water modeling that's been done in the water.
And they're, part of the HDR team was a gentleman that worked for San Antonio Water System for 15 years and worked on the groundwater.
If that's the
project
case,
effort.
then that's part of what the cost now has gone up, because you'd have to be able to have a means of treating that water, right?
Right.
Yeah, that would definitely
And that
be
wasn't disclosed when we met with them.
I think they assumed, right, you could just pump it and deliver it
Yeah.
into the existing infrastructure, none of which we recommend to this council.
We do not have a salt removal process at Owen Steve.
And it isn't just a question of adding chlorine.
No, it's
To
not.
that
You-
water?
You have to take the chlorides, the salt out of the water.
What's the estimate cost to have a facility like that to do that? Just a ballpark figure.
Yeah, we've got a ballpark. What was that? We'll get that to you. It's in their
Yeah, we
study.
have
I
it.
don't recall off the top. I don't recall off the top of my head. Do you, Esteban? Let's not guess. We'll go back to the study.
All right, thank
and
you.
we'll get that to you.
All right, it just seems, I spent a couple hours with them, and it just seems like now in your presentation that everything changed, and in terms of how the process was going to go with Evangeline, and it
Yeah.
just seems a lot more. I mean, the time frame has went up, the cost has went up. I mean,
Yeah.
I do believe we need to diversify, and it seemed like groundwater, that project was good. But you also said you had another groundwater?
There's a West Texas, there's a local person here that is not in the water business, but has stated that he can assemble a business to transport water from deep West Texas here. We don't have any business case scenario. With the port has been asked, but has declined, I mean. at least in the initial request to help pay for some analysis.
Yeah. So you think you'll have a full briefing in about 6 weeks on the Evangeline?
Yes.
Okay, I look forward to that.
We
Thank you.
have that negotiated and have our engineer.
Thank you.
Councilman Barrera.
Thank you, Mayor. Was that Carrizo Springs?
Sorry?
Carrizo Springs, the West Texas?
Um,
Carrizo Springs.
Gallito Springs, okay.
There's an aquifer, Carrizo Springs, and they
Okay.
came and made a presentation to us. And the cost associated with it was, with the infrastructure, the pipeline. What is it? And, I mean, they have an abundance of it, but they also didn't take into consideration the drawdown as the challenge we're having all over the state of Texas. There was a nice article in the Texas Tribune. I just sent it to Council Member Campos.
Can you send one to me?
Okay.
I'm sorry?
Can you send it to me?
Oh, sure. I'll send it to you.
Okay, good. I'd like to see that also. If you have-
Well, sometimes you want to pick and choose. I've been the target of the Texas Tribune, which I say so dubiously.
Okay.
But I just think I've said that, and I've made that clear that, and the city manager in Sitton's a personal friend, and he's expressed his concern, and he wants to help. He wants to help, but what?
It is identified as a risk by HDR, the drawdown. Until we get more information and data, like Esteban was saying earlier, they've drilled one well, and that's where we're garnering all of our data from. And so the promise was to drill a second well. And so we'll have that conversation next time we talk to them.
Well, I'm gonna summarize this here in a little bit, but just and we haven't identified a funding source for that, for the Evangeline.
No. The only project we've got.
Yes, we have. Yeah, we have. It'd be the ratepayer, the water ratepayer.
Okay, but we haven't. Okay, but
And Councilman, and potentially we can use the 25-cent surcharge monies for capital investment. So we'd have to determine what assets would we own versus Evangeline. They've expressed they want to own all the pumps and all that. So, in the the drill shafts, that type of things. But yeah, it would be no grants or anything like that. No Texas Water Development loan. But
so we would do the same thing with Barney Davis if it were feasible.
Right.
We could use that same resource.
Yes,
okay. Also, I guess, I'm sure we're paying attention to, even though it's only $1 billion that the state of Texas appropriated, I kind of feel like it was a little bit of thing, just placating the public, that they wanted to vote, the public to vote on this November.
Yeah, so we're getting all of our ducks in a row on that one. If the vote passes in November, then we want to be, obviously, that's going to be a very competitive process, but we're going to try to be as close to the front of the line as we can get.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've got several ideas on projects.
Yeah, and that's for any source.
Just like every city.
It's for any source. It's not subject to just desalination.
Yeah. And we want to do it, and Ken Britton and I from the port have talked about a joint application, Councilman. So we don't want the city and the port applying.
That is an
separately.
Excellent idea.
Yes,
That's
sir.
true collaboration.
Collaboration is it. Yes, sir.
That's true collaboration. And, I'm going to get on a box here for a little bit. Many of us that have been supportive, I've said many times that the public trust is highly volatile. As our good friend who likes to make public comment on a weekly basis, and sometimes there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff I don't agree with, but there's some stuff that I do. And I could say that, and I said it yesterday, that I leaned into when I said I would say that 80% of our water comes from industry. And I pointed to Steve, and somebody did it again today on video. That's why I laughed. I hope they didn't think I was laughing at them. I was really laughing at when I saw that. And a lot of it is because I leaned into the fact that we need water, and I have confidence in you guys. It's been perceived, and I mean, I'm a firm believer in obviously supporting industry because of all the jobs. I think that's the working man. Those are the people I knock on my doors. Those people from Citgo, Valero, Flint Hills, they answer the door. So it's a balance. And, obviously the confidence that I've had in staff to be able to get us good information I've stuck with this. I've stuck with this, particularly on water. Now, I'm a little frustrated because of the information that we brought out to public today. I think we handled it wrong. Yesterday. But I guess now, as Councilmember Campos brought up, we had New Gen look at these particular rate models, because one of the reasons I was sold on this 5 years ago on this $222 million SWIFT loan was that if we kept the plant right probably at 175 million, that basically on our current debt structure and on this funds that we were able to bring up from industry, that there would be zero rate impact to the ratepayer, and particularly the residential ratepayer. And I've said that. And now, obviously, with the pandemic and the increase of costs associated with that, I'm not so optimistic, but I figure, well, we'll cross that bridge when we get there, and we'll figure it out. And then, as I've said, I consider industry a partner. I'm sure they recognize that there was a greater cost. They recognize how important the water is. But they're our partners, and we have to communicate with them as such. I think, so there's a couple things I'm bringing this all. Right now has been a good example of us just playing whack-a-mole. I've always said, you know what, I'm open to other resources. I personally have never, although I've said with the Port of Corpus Christi, with Harbor Island, I've never really, I don't think it's a good idea. I've never thought it was a good idea. I always thought it was too expensive, and I've said publicly that, especially when I had my briefing with them, that they have not done all the work that we had. A lot of it was all conceptual. And I think that's reflective on what they've got so far, and they've spent their $42 million on. It's just a piece of property and a lot of empty studies and going before, legal challenges, and so they've put all that money together. And I think, I've expressed that to our commissioners, that I think it's been a poor investment of their money to try and move forward, and I think a lot of it had to do with ego. So now that we coordinate with them, I think that's important. Understanding like this collaborative effort on an application, I think that's important. But Peter, I'm counting on you, because right now we're all over the place. Barney Davis, once again, I was optimistic. I had heard that it was going to be the greater the cost. How much did we spend on that study?
Barney Davis, that was $49,000.
How convenient. So $49,000.
That was, yeah.
Yeah, I understand. And we're only getting so much for it. But the thing is that we've got to decide that as a unit. If we're going to say we're going to spend $49,000, okay, what are our objectives? What is it that we're trying to come out of this? What do we want to get? What questions do we want to be answered? Because right now we're in a position where you're answering questions from her, from him, from her, from me. We're all over the place, and then we don't know what's going on. And it makes us look very disorganized and a little incompetent. Right now, as I said, the public volatility. If you win by over 55%, I've said it all the time, you've got 45% of the public that's upset with you. So you've only got a 5% margin to keep the public informed. So right now, the Evangeline, like I said, I've visited with those gentlemen too, and they're very smart. And and I felt the approach was kind of salesy, I looked at some other resources, I obviously asked the people over at Friesen Nichols. They've expressed to me the challenges that may have occurred from that, and we've just spent $49,000 to find out something very similar. And like I said, I'm not opposed to it, but we're going to have to spend more than $49,000 to explore the options. So I put that all together. The Carrizo Springs, the same thing. The cost to transport, or the cost to the pipeline, or whatever the case is, the infrastructure required, they said 4 years ago, said that's going to be the cost. So right now, I think that may I suggest that you take a somewhat more organized approach, because I know you're frustrated, and you know what? God bless you. Because I think right now you figured, man, I got this council member telling me this, I got this council member telling me that, I'm moving over here this, and I'm doing that, and all of a sudden now where am I, Evangeline? What is it? I got this underground pipeline, the port didn't consider that, they didn't put all this. Man, we're all over the place. Jesus, I feel like I'm watching pinball. So all I'm saying is regroup, stay focused. Obviously, you know what, we need water. But right now, we need all these questions answered, and if I think if you put that all on the website, and I know sometimes the commissioner to be, or council member, a past commissioner, what is it, has said, I know, I hate when you say it's up on the website, but I think all that information needs to be disclosed, you know, as is this presentation, because I can tell you, I'm in it. You guys know I'm in it, and I'm confused. So if I'm confused, then I'm feeling like there's a problem, because I've been leading the charge, and I've taken those bullets, you know. So right now, I'm asking you, as 1 and 9, I hope that we get more organized. Number one, what's the funding source? What's the timeline? We're very confident. It looks like you have a lot of information today. Define what our role is with regard to the port. Have some objectives when we have a meeting. Have an agenda already ready. You know, it's just kind of basics. And I'm sorry, like I said, I got in a box, but I know right now we're all over the place. So thank you very much, Mayor, for the time.
Sure thing. Councilman Klein.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for the presentation, Mike. I have some concerns that I think maybe perhaps you're still not considering all the different options in looking at water sources. Folks have been talking to me about this, about simple conservation. Really, if in the short term, that's the surest way to try to secure an additional water supply, and that is to look at serious conservation, not just on the residential side, but on the industrial side as well, in the short term. I think that regarding Barney Davis, I have some environmental concerns about that plant. If we were to do work there, if there's talk about putting the outfall into Oso Creek, the TCEQ is considering declaring that to be an impaired body. So there's some problems with that as well. The Laguna Madre they're going to be drawing the water from would be additionally salty. And so if you're moving away from that, I'm comfortable with moving away from that, because I'm not sure there are serious problems that just haven't been addressed there, I think, yet as well. I think Evangeline bears watching. I think I'm encouraged by Peter's comments that we're looking at West Texas now, whether that's...
Councilman, just sorry to interrupt. We're not looking at West Texas. People want us to, and like Councilman Pusley said, if we can't do it, we're telling people we can't do it. We're at our capacity. We're not looking at any more water sources right now. We have 4 that we just went over. That's it. Like, we're not looking at West Texas. People want us to, but we're not. We don't have the capacity.
And I would argue that that's short-sighted.
We can only do what we can, you know.
I understand that.
What we have told people.
There are 2 saltwater desal plants in the United States. One in San Diego, California, and one in Tampa, Florida. Both have caused dramatic increases in water rates for the residents in those 2 communities.
Yeah.
I don't want that for our community.
That's fair.
I have concern about the environmental impact of these, especially if it's in the bay here as well. I have environmental concerns about that as well. So I think we need to be looking at alternatives.
Yeah.
I understand there's only so much time in the day, so many hours in the week.
Right.
But I think we need to be looking as broadly as possible at different water supplies, whether it's pulling water from the air or other options as well.
Right. And what we've said, Councilman, just to, if I can clarify my comments, we're looking at alternate sources other than seawater desalination. That would be Evangeline, which is a much more moved along business option. Once we get done that and make a decision point, if time allows, then we'll look at this other West Texas. We just can't do all of these. To get to Councilman Barrera's point, it causes confusion. It causes a delusion of attention. We can only do so much given the resources we have, so we're taking them incrementally at a time.
You know, I've heard you mention this before, though, that the beauty of San Antonio's water supply is that it's not from one source.
Right.
So I think we need to be looking at multiple sources and not choose any one in the end. Right. I think it's going to be provide a better strength for our community.
We agree. That's why we're looking at groundwater storage. That's why we're looking at reuse of effluent water. That's why we're looking at conservation. We agree with you.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Pusley.
Okay, I forgot what I was going to ask. And Councilman Barrera, I was always told if you won by 55% in New Essex County, it was a landslide. So, anyway. Mike, and thank you for your report. I didn't say that a while ago, and
You're welcome.
I apologize for that.
No problem.
I wanted to ask, with respect to the Evangeline groundwater, you talked about the permitting and some other stuff going on, one after. Could that not be done simultaneously to shorten the time period?
Yeah, working in parallel is always an option. I'm not saying we couldn't do that. I broke it out into a couple of different aspects there, which I would assume that it would.
I hope that we could look at that and try to shorten it, or see if that would help us.
Sure.
And I read I haven't seen the HDR report on Evangeline. I don't know if it's released yet or not.
We're still working through that.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll be bringing that forward.
I did read the one that HDR put together on Barney Davis, and I thought it was pretty 25,000-foot view kind of report.
Exactly. It was a desktop survey. There's no question.
That's what it was. I just think that if we hire, in my career, I've hired lots of professionals to do work. And when I hired them, I gave them a script of what I wanted. I didn't let them pick the script for me. I always said, this is what we want, whether it was a geophysical seismic company that was going to do data processing or whatever the case may be. We just need to be sure that we give them a script of what it is we expect out of because when we spend $50,000 for a desktop review, to me, that's just flushing money. And I said this the other day till the council got sick of me hearing it when we had HDR up here talking about doing the study on the Mary Rose pipeline. And I said, the first part of what they are going to do, we could get off the internet. And so that's my concern is we need to sit down and be certain that we have a clear understanding of what they're going to do and what our expectations are out of our $50,000 or $100,000 or whatever the case may be. We don't want to just say, go over here and take a look at this and see what you think, because so anyway, I was very disappointed in the report. And I'm not blaming HDR. Maybe that's what we told them to get. But, I don't think there's anybody at this table is not concerned about what the final rate is going to be. I certainly, I buy water too. I certainly don't want to be paying, $10 a gallon for the water coming to my house. So we have to make sure that whatever we do is going to be feasible and justifiable and within reason. And so, anyway, I have a whole bunch of other stuff, but I'm going to stop because I'm hungry, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Campos.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for being so patient with us.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
I also just wanted to point out about the fastest way to get us water is conservation, right? Conservation. We push that to our residents all the time. Some of us did videos, and I, from time to time, people say, "Oh, I heard it or I saw it," but again, I just want to emphasize that we don't know what industry, and I know you've said this, is doing. I've also heard that whenever we didn't have this exemption fee, that they did use less water. So, let's put this to the test. I mean, let's find out what they can do to conserve water. And I hear, that they do, but I think it would be in the public's interest if we knew the people. So again, I'm asking you to please have those companies provide that information to us. Thank you.
Councilman Hunter.
I'm going to be quick because I'm starving too. I just want to say thank you to you and your team, Esteban, Mike. Before y'all got here, you can't imagine how big of a popcorn show this would have been. And unfortunately, all we ever did was we hired the exact same company. I'm not going to mention any names. We hired the exact same company to do the exact same study every single year, and we got the exact same results. That's what we were doing. And it was costing us a tremendous amount of money. So I appreciate what you're doing. You're using our dollars. You make someone who always votes against taxes proud. So thank you for your efforts. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And I am not for killing freshwater creatures, so thank you.
Councilman Roy.
Yes, I want to thank you for your presentation.
Yes, sir.
You know, there's a couple things, and I mean, we've talked water the last 2 days, and, you know, I know that this council, we're very concerned about the residents paying any additional monies.
Yes, sir.
Water's important to us. In 10 years, it looks like we've been discussing desal. And I want to go back to this Evangeline thing because I think it's critical. And I know that you feel that HDR is a reputable company and that they're a leader in the industry, but I can't help but thinking, even though it might be a different division, because ultimately that CEO of HDR is responsible for that organization. But it was some of the decisions that were made by HDR that got us into this situation with rates. I say that because no one has carte blanche in terms of just looking at and believing that the information that they provide us is the holy grail. We have to do our job and make sure that it's prudent. The consultant that we dealt with yesterday was frustrated because he got so many questions from this council that question in terms of the numbers that he had and to validate, because at the end of the day, it's the people that pay. And it's the same thing that I want to talk about this evaluation of Evangeline. I hope that we have conversation and communication before that 6-week period when you're going to brief us in terms of some of the questions that I've asked. You know, we happen to know the company that did the drilling for Sinton and any issues that they had, and the water in terms of how that water and what it was delivered in terms of the residents right now, because there's minimum treatment to that water. And so this council member is going to fact check because this is important. We have to do something, and we're kicking the can down the road, and we're coming up with, oh, well, HDR just pushed it back 5 years because of this, this, and this, because maybe they did a very high-level review. Well, that's not what we need at this point in time. We need to make some decisions and smart decisions right away. And I'll tell you right now, I'm going to look into this, and I will make sure that on my end that we do the right thing, because I don't want to sit here 10 years from now and have a conversation about groundwater. I don't want to sit here unless we're adding another source because we're continuing to grow. And that's where we're at. We need to be able to move faster, and we have to move. Each move that we do has to be deliberate. And so that's the challenge, especially when it comes to this groundwater, because I think we do have something there, and I'm not willing to look at any report just on the surface and then we get twisted around and say, well, you know, maybe this is going to cause this, it's going to cause that. I want definite answers.
Yeah, and just a little clarification. The two studies were different. The Barney Davis was a desktop survey for under 50,000. The HDR survey on the Evangeline line was a more in detailed survey of the site, more in depth, and that's why we came to council to get the funding source for, I think, what was it, $93,000 to do that one. And so I don't want to disparage HDR's engineering because of HDR Financial. I don't even know. I don't know HDR Financial, even they're connected. But I'm going to ask that question too, because I want you guys to make sure you have the right information in comparing the two, because I don't want to discredit a really good engineering firm that does great work for us.
No, just understand that I'm sure that this entire council is going to ask a lot of questions. And we just want to make sure that the job was done in terms of looking at, so that we induced an appropriate answer, and that we just didn't go through it halfway and make a conclusion that we can't support, because this is too important. It's too
Councilman,
important.
if I can add to Murphy's comment, so, because I'm sure Ed Cross is listening, so the 5 years, that is a worst-case scenario, and it depends on a particular route that we may not even pick. So 3 years is reasonable as well to consider that it could be done in 2 to 3 years. We're just cautioning the council and the community, depending on the route selected, it could take up to 5 years. We're not saying it's going to take 5 years. It could, depending on the route.
Yeah.
The preferred route we have won't take 5 years. And just one other real quick comment. The work that HDR has done is so we can have we, the city staff, can have a conversation with the Evangeline group, because they're using their own consultants to price this out. And so our next step is to sit down with them to say, here's what our consultant says. Does it kind of look to what your consultants are saying, your engineering consultant, who is Pape Dawson, who did the water project up in San Antonio. And then we have to talk about the water cost itself, the raw water cost. So that conversation's coming. The report that we have from HDR is we're not going to turn it over as the only and absolute body of information, because now we're going to have a conversation with Evangeline, who's going to give us more information, more counterpoint information. Yes, sir. So that step's coming.
Right now, where we're at, this is another thing I want to ask.
Okay.
Right now, based on where we're at today,
right,
what is the fastest in terms of having desal that you can actually start, and go into operation? What is the shortest time frame on desal from now until you could actually turn the spigot on and have it work?
Okay, so we're estimating.
With any location.
Yeah,
I
so
don't-
Inner Harbor is head and shoulders above all the other projects in our opinion. Harbor Island is a much larger.
What's the
facility.
time frame?
4 to 5 years. And that gives us time to finish the project, or the permits. We have to design it. It has to go through a procurement phase, and then we bid it out and construct. And construct is about 36 months. So we're anticipating 1 to 2 years to finish out where we are right now. Now, it could go to contested case. I mean, there are people that are going to try to contest it, but so far they haven't been given standing at SOA. So, yeah, so that's what we're projecting right now on Inner Harbor. La Quinta is not there. La Quinta is
So it could be even further, but this groundwater solution could be there within a 3 to 5 year period.
Could be. It could be.
And without, it seems to me like, at least on the surface, without a lot of the headaches that we're going through.
No. Let me, not headaches, that's, I wouldn't say that. There are going to definitely be
Complexities.
challenges with Evangeline, but it could be quicker. And so but what we're having to do, and, like I said, we don't want to show our hands because we're negotiating. This is hard
Okay,
negotiations
then
right now. So we're reversing what Evangeline has provided us with HDR. And it's,
Okay, I'll stop there then, but I just want you to know that any source, that we can look at, especially diversify from what we have right now, is important. And
absolutely.
Thank you for your hard work.
Yes, sir. We agree 100%.
Okay, the SB 28, the infrastructure bill that passed, the $1 billion water project
ma'am.
infrastructure bill.
Right.
That is not specific to site, right? So when you say,
No.
okay.
Yeah, it's
So,
a
so
pri-
Peter, that's a great example of when I ask, what are we doing in 5 meetings that the board is assisting the city and moving forward? That's a great collaboration on that is great, because that is
Right.
not site specific. That is just
Right.
working together to find, water resistant, right, resource.
Right.
So it's very clear, where the council sits here. There is a sense of urgency, and I can't underscore that enough. I know you know that.
Yes, ma'am.
But we have these briefings to emphasize whatever the sentiment is. There is no doubt the EPA has put Harbor Island at a complete standstill. There is no permit there. I guess, Peter, do you accept that and understand that?
So I don't want to, I haven't looked at it in recent time. I know they were
Okay.
issued a permit. I know it was contested.
Okay, so
And I
that's
know
a
the
big
federal government-
problem,
Yeah, I know
because
the federal government's
you're
contesting
our city
as well.
manager.
Yeah.
That needs to be, you can't be going to that meeting going, there is no permit, because there isn't. It was pulled. The EPA has that permit at a standstill. So we have to get on the same page.
Right.
And if you can't, then we need to know that. If you stand before us to say, no, I don't believe that, then, I mean, that may, I don't know if that's the case or
I
not.
think
That
it's
would
just
cause a big
semantics,
problem.
Mayor. Yeah, I think it's just, probably being too technical.
Okay.
Is the permit that they have in question and under review by the federal government and other?
The EPA.
The answer is yes, it is.
And it's
so-
at a standstill.
Right.
So to the conversation y'all have heard, stop
We've-
focusing on something that's at a standstill. Let that continue to move forward. It's out of their control, just like ours is out of our control. It's at TCEQ. We can't make, we've had this conversation, you can't make calls, you can't write sweet letters saying, come on, hurry. They're like the IRS. And the port has their deal going, and I get it. Like, I understand, it's unfortunate, but their situation is theirs, ours is ours. And let's work in collaboration with them and anyone else who wants to come to the table to make water happen. So if we're going to continue to go to meeting after meeting after meeting, and all that's happening, in my opinion, is they hired Pape Dawson to do an integration study. I would suggest you ask, and I've told probably both of you, I know I've told Peter, there are already 2 studies that the port has in their position, and Hansen has in their possession, 2014 and 17, I believe. And that will give you all and the team who is working on Harbor Island a whole lot of information on the cost of what Harbor Island is going to be. Now, I don't want to be, again, this whole council just wants to move forward. There is a sense of urgency. You all share the same one. I respect that. But Peter, we got to move, we have to focus. We have to focus on what's moving forward. TCEQ's got it. Y'all got a great report. We know that's the best place. We chose it for a reason. Let them do an integration study. Great. That's going to take a while. Focus on, okay, while y'all are doing that, how do you help us over here? Let's look at what's over here. Just got done saying, Evangeline could be over here. How do they, and that's what I want back from y'all. Go back, and now that we have kind of cleared a little bit of this in terms of where we stand, so how can they help us with Evangeline, for example? Because you said that's the second one, right?
Right,
Kind
yeah.
of, I mean, it's apples and oranges, I get it. Desal is not, groundwater,
Right.
but it is something that is, feasible to look at.
Right.
How do we bring anyone to the table that wants to help us, the port, to help us move this forward? And in what way? That's what those meetings should be. So I'm asking for that kind of information moving forward.
Okay.
Because as you all know, time is of the essence. Thank you for the presentation, for your time, Mike.
Yes, ma'am.
Appreciate it very much. All right, with that, I'm gonna go through consent, and then we're gonna pull whatever items needed, and then we will break for lunch and return.
I'll help you with that, Mayor. There's been a misprint in one of the agendas. If you're looking at your agenda 3 and 4 are based on the Omnia, the solid waste grant. We're pulling that item, so that's either 3 or 4.
The 3 is the Omnia Partners.
Yes, but on some agendas, it's actually number 4, and
I
it's
don't
been
have-
left off.
I don't have it, I don't have item number 3 at all.
I got you a new
but-
updated.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're pulling 3? So-
Councilmember Campos is pulling.
Yes, I was pulling
Number
3, but
3.
I don't even see David Leffield here.
Right, we have Neiman is here. for
Okay.
David. You're right, because
All right.
David's
Yes.
taking care of the storm. We have a lot
Okay.
of down
Oh.
trees and.
Okay.
All
Right,
right,
he's
would
out in the
anyone else
field.
like to pull any items on consent agenda 2 through 10? Okay, there being no one, I will entertain a motion to approve consent agenda with the exception of item number 3.
So
So-
moved. Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. The motion carries. Item number 3 is a motion authorizing the execution of a 1-year supply agreement with Rig Pacific Company. Let's see, for $742,014 to purchase refuse and recycling carts for solid waste services. And Ms. Campos, what was your question?
Okay, I had received I've been sent an email asking if there was a possibility if we use different sizes of carts, that if it would reduce the amount that the resident could pay. If they, we have families that don't, have as much trash as some of the others. And I wanted to know what David thought about that. Is that?
He's out in the field, as I mentioned, Councilman. We had a tropical storm that impacted the city, so we have a lot of downed trees. But I will say from my experience in a prior city that that's often referred to as pay-as-you-go pricing. And it's a policy concept that the council we would have to present a plan and present it to the council. It'd be a big shift in billing and service delivery. So it's certainly something, it's a policy issue that the council, that we could provide information and ultimately council could decide if we want to go in that direction.
Really? So
Yeah.
we would have to decide to to discuss this further? We can't just buy smaller?
The issue would be you could buy smaller cars, but you're saying would they want a lesser price in their rate?
Yes.
Right, and so council has to set rates, right? And we'd have to determine the rate structure. We'd have to do some analysis to see would people even buy the smaller cans before we venture into that.
Okay.
It took San Antonio several years to get to that point where they have pay-as-you-throw pricing. You can buy 3 different size carts.
Okay.
The goal is to recycle more, and so the biggest size garbage cart costs the most amount per month. So if you want a smaller garbage can, the concept is you're going to recycle more, so you pay less monthly.
Yeah.
Right, but that would take some time and modeling and some business case analysis to bring back to council. So it's not something we do overnight.
Okay, well,
But if the majority of the council wants the staff to move to bring some policy proposals, we'll be willing to put that in our work plan.
Well, can we do this now, or we have to have more than one person
We would need the
request that?
consensus of the council, right? We would need the consensus of the council to say, let's look at this as a business case option for the city to have variable rate pricing for your garbage carts, basically.
Okay. Well, I don't know if any of my other fellow council members would like to have us look into that, but I think it'd be worth it, only because, our residents are, watch their pennies or dollars, and if we can help them in any way, let's figure it out. If it's not gonna cost much.
Right, it's gonna, Councilwoman, so the cost to deliver the service won't go down. Right, it's a fixed cost for the drivers, the trucks, the disposal. In some cases, we do own the landfill, but the push and pack contract. So when you go to a variable rate pricing, if one person's bill goes down, the other person has to go up, so to speak. And so it's not that you can buy smaller cans and all of a sudden we can reduce rates to the customer because the fixed costs stay the same. We still have drivers, we still have trucks, we still have fuel. You just have less garbage going to the landfill, say. The concept is often used to incentivize recycling, and so that's another thing we'd have to look at if we shifted to that model. Right now, we just recycle every other week. We may have to look at recycling once a week to provide customers more frequency if they decided to recycle more. So it's really a big policy/business concept that needs analysis. We'd probably hire a consultant to help us, because in the end, it's a business case. We'd have to run the numbers, run the business case. That's from experience. I did it before in San Antonio.
I don't know, why is it that every time that we have suggestions it's always like we have to hire a consultant. Why isn't that we don't have the staff and you have other models,
They would
like
help
you
us
said.
they would help us, Councilwoman, with pricing. We don't have staff that look at different business case models every day, so experts out there would help us on things like pricing, things like community engagement. If we found out that in this community people are not interested in that, we'd want to know. And so we'd have to do probably some surveying, some work groups with the community. That's what we did in San Antonio. We could buy these small cans all day long, but if nobody wanted to buy that service, then it would be a waste of money. So there has to be some analysis in the upfront, whether we do it or a consultant does it. I will tell you, many cities do this, but there has to be a thought process and a business case development.
Well, one of the ways that I find out how the residents feel about certain programs is I ask them, we could just have like a little survey that says,
Right.
Yeah.
We would ask them, but just the time to develop a survey, whether a staff person does it or not, takes some effort and thought, and there should be some peer review on the questions, so. Yeah, I'm not opposed to the idea. As I said earlier, we'd be willing to do it if the majority of the council wants this to do that. We can certainly do it. It may not be done tomorrow.
No,
We can put it in the
it
work
doesn't have to
plan.
be done tomorrow, but
Yeah.
it does at least need to be, I'm trying to just raise awareness.
I appreciate that,
yeah.
yeah. It exists. It's in San Antonio, Austin. Many cities have that variable rate pricing feature. And generally, the goal has been, when these cities do it, is to incentivize or encourage recycling. So you give every customer the largest recycling can, and then you buy a various size garbage can.
Yeah.
So that persons that want to save money would recycle more and put less in the garbage can.
Okay, well, thank you, Peter, but, well, hopefully maybe we can discuss this at a, further if my other fellow council members feel the same way, that, if we can find ways to save money for our residents, let's do it. But with that,
I think we have a Councilman Barrera.
Just to mention that point, it's just a testimonial. My HOA had the same brilliant idea, and nobody liked them. They were too small. That was the whole thing. Once they had the volume, they said, because we obviously, we paid directly to the HOA, and they said, well, we don't use them. And anyway, just an FYI.
All right, I appreciate that.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve item number 3.
Yes, with that, I'll make a motion to
Second.
approve.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. The motion carries. So we will now break for lunch. We do not have an executive session, and then we'll be back and continue with public hearings, items number 11 through 13.
When emergencies strike, stay informed with Reverse Alert. Everything from incoming severe weather, traffic alerts, police and fire activity, industry alerts, and citywide information. Reverse Alert will provide you time-sensitive information to keep you safe. Signing up is a fast and easy process. Text BeReadyCCNC to 888-777 or visit cctexas.com/alert sign up. Choose to receive notifications by phone call, text, or email. And with fully customizable options, you pick what notifications you want to receive. And you can designate what hours of the day that you don't want to be disturbed. Stay informed, stay aware, stay alert. Sign up for Reverse Alert today.
You can submit a city service request quickly and easily by downloading the MyCC 311 app on your phone. Reporting street problems, tall grass, gas or water issues, or other concerns is simple on the 311 app. Just choose from a list of services, add a photo, answer a few short questions, mark your location, and hit submit. Everything you need in just a few minutes. Life is made easy with 311. Download the MyCC 311 app today.
Light Up CC is a streetlight conversion project between the City of Corpus Christi and AEP Texas, where we're converting existing streetlights to new and improved LED street lighting. The new lights will save the taxpayers over $600,000 annually, and they will use about 50% less electricity, so they're much more energy efficient. We have over 15,000 lights that are being upgraded throughout the entire city of Corpus Christi. Other major cities within Texas have switched to LED lights, and they are more popular within the communities. LED lighting is popular because the color rendition is clearer and brighter. It attracts less insects. They have a longer lifespan of over 20 years, less carbon footprint. Nighttime visibility will be greatly improved, reducing nighttime crashes, pedestrian crashes, decreased crime. Overall, the new LED lighting will help the community feel safer.
We've all dealt with the hassles of traveling. Traffic, long lines, security, layovers. What if there was a smarter way? When you fly out of Corpus Christi International Airport, you get all the modern amenities you love with the stress-free convenience of flying local. So you can skip the hassle and get right to the good parts, taking off and returning home. Fly smarter, not harder, at flyccia.com.
Many households in our community rely on natural gas. It's important to know how to detect a gas leak and how to report it. You can detect gas leaks through sight, smell, and sound. If you see dead vegetation near a pipeline, smell rotting eggs, or hear a hissing noise, there could be a leak nearby. Make sure to leave the area immediately. If you suspect a gas leak, call the gas department at 311. Do not light a match and avoid using any electrical switches so you don't create a spark that could start a fire. Also, avoid driving into the area. Your vehicle's engine may ignite the vapors. And do not attempt to extinguish any fire that might start. Natural gas is a part of the City of Corpus Christi's utility system, and keeping our residents safe is our top priority. For more information, visit cctexas.com/gas.
This is our home, full of fun in the sun and in the water, but we need your help to keep our bayfront clean. Nature has its way of recycling water. It evaporates and comes back in the form of rain. It filters through the soil into water tables. Without thinking, people contaminate nature's cycle by dumping unwanted chemicals in the storm drain. Things like grass clippings, fertilizer, paint, and oil from your car are not meant to be washed out into the curb and into the street because they keep the city's stormwater drainage system from working properly. Ultimately, they contaminate our ocean, bays, and groundwater. Remember, clean bays start at home, so do your part to keep things running smoothly and keeping things out of the gutter. To help keep our city beautiful. Only rain down the storm drain. Adopting an animal from Corpus Christi Animal Care Services is fast, easy, and affordable. All you need is a valid ID, and you must be 18 years or older. The adoption fee is $25, which includes spay and neuter surgery, age-appropriate vaccinations, and a microchip. Come by CCACS located at 2626 Holly Road. You can meet and greet all the animals that are available for adoption. You can also go to 24petconnect.com. This website has pictures and other detailed information about our pets and will help you decide what animal you would like to bring home. All adoptions are required to be completed in person. CCACS adoption hours are Monday through Saturday from 1 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. Find your forever best friend at Corpus Christi Animal Care Services. Caring for our animals, one paw at a time.
Life is made easy with 311, a fast and reliable way to report a problem and get information on city services. Everything from street repairs, gas or water leaks, animal care services, or even information on your trash pickup schedule. Call 311 or download the MyCC 311 app and get instant access to create service requests, upload information and photos, and submit your location to alert us to the area. 311 provides solutions to everyday problems. Anytime, anywhere, on any device. Get better quality, better service, and better results. Life made easy with 311. Download MyCC 311 app today.
Before you head out to the beach, make sure you grab your beach permit. For only $12, this permit provides access to explore and enjoy miles of our local beaches. Permits are required, so be sure to display the sticker on your vehicle. All the funds from the permit sales will be used to provide clean and safe beaches for all our visitors to enjoy. The permit is good until December 31st, so come back and visit us as often as you like.
My name is Drew Molly. I'm the Director of Water Systems and Support Services for Corpus Christi Water. I'm standing here at Choke Canyon. It's one of 4 drinking water sources. It's one of the most important water reservoirs for our city of Corpus Christi. If you look behind me, you'll see these buoys that are laying on the ground. These buoys are typically floating on the water surface, which indicates that the reservoir is significantly lower than where it normally is. As you may be aware, the city of Corpus Christi is in stage 1 water restrictions, and so we're asking everybody to do their part to conserve water. We urge you to save water, and we appreciate your efforts.
Corpus Christi Water believes in xeriscape as the water-saving way to go when designing a home garden. It's a style of drought-resistant landscaping that uses plants that need very little water. Using xeriscape concepts can reduce the amount of water used to irrigate. Xeriscape. It saves time, it saves money, but most importantly, it saves water. For more information, go to corpuschristiwater.com and follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
The Mobile Clinic is a new initiative by the Corpus Christi Nueces County Public Health District. It's an attempt to meet the people where they are. As you know, our resources are limited. The community is limited by the transport. So we want to take our bus to them. We want to provide services where they are, meet their needs where they are. So our van is going to provide immunizations, both COVID, flu, and also childhood vaccinations. We've also offered to the community to tell us what other needs do they have and how we can fill them.
For the mobile clinic services, we do have a registration process, so you'll fill out any type of paper form for either the A1C screening, a COVID booster shot, or a flu shot. And everything is at no cost. If you need help filling out the forms, we'll be able to help you fill out forms as well. No ID is required if you are getting a booster shot and you do have your previous shot records. I would ask to bring those in. Other than that, just bring yourself, and we're just here to help anybody and everyone that we can.
Oh, it was a good experience. I myself don't have insurance at the moment, so when I heard about it, I thought I'd come out here and take advantage of what's offered to the public. So yeah, it was a great experience for me.
Our pets are always on the run, and it's easy for them to get away from us. Get your pet microchip to ensure the best chance of them returning home. A pet microchip is a small electronic chip that is quickly implanted under your pet's skin, giving them a permanent identification number and increasing the likelihood that your furry friend will be found. Corpus Christi Animal Care Services offers free microchipping Monday through Friday from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. at 2626 Holly Road. The procedure is fast, painless, and free, and it never needs to be replaced. Visit cctexas.com and click on Animal Services or call 361-826-4630 to register your pet's information. Corpus Christi Animal Care Services, caring for our animals one paw at a time. Your safety is important at Corpus Christi beaches. A beach warning flag system is in place to let you know what weather conditions you can expect before getting into the water. There are 5 different beach warning flags. The main 3 are green, yellow, and red. Green means go. The water is calm and it is safe to swim. Just swim with care. Yellow means caution. The waves are getting bigger and there may be a small rip current. We recommend adult or lifeguard supervision while swimming. Red means stop. Danger is ahead. The surf is dangerous with strong winds, big waves, and strong rip currents. Do not enter the ocean in red flag conditions unless you are a very strong swimmer. And do not let your kids swim at all. The last 2 flags are purple and orange. Purple indicates the presence of harmful sea animals, jellyfish, sharks, or other venomous marine life have been spotted close to shore. And orange means there is an environmental hazard in the air or water quality. The conditions are not safe for your health. Make sure to check the weather and water conditions when heading out to the beach. Follow us on Facebook at Corpus Christi Beaches or visit cctexas.com/beaches for daily warning flag updates and surf conditions.
Whether you're a homeowner planting a tree or a contractor working on a job site, always call 811 at least 2 days before you dig. It's free, it's easy, and it's the law. Call 811 to provide dig location and project information. A specialist will then come to your location and mark the underground line, allowing you to work safely without any delay. Your safety is our priority. Know what's below and call 811 before you dig.
Corpus Christi Water is here to demonstrate how to look at your water meter to spot potential water loss from leaky pipes. First, turn off all water fixtures, including faucets, hoses, ice makers, and irrigation systems. Next, locate your water meter. Corpus Christi water meters will always be in the utility easement, which may be in the front of your home or in your backyard. Remove the meter box lid. On the top of the meter, there is a register with numbers. These numbers show how much water is being used. Each meter will also have a flow indicator with a red line or possibly a small red triangle. A flow indicator that is not moving indicates that no water is going through your meter and you do not have a leak. If the flow indicator is moving, water is flowing through your system even though you turned off all fixtures. This means you may have a leak. Look for a leak in or around your home and repair it as soon as possible, or contact a certified plumber for help. If you have any issues with your water or wastewater, please dial 311.
Fostering a pet means that you take care of the pet until they find a forever home, and can help ensure that each pet finds an ideal home by matching their personality with the home that best suits them. Adopting a pet is a big decision, and fostering is a great way to learn about owning a pet before making your decision. CCACS provides everything you need to foster an animal. All fosters must be at least 18 years old and submit a foster care application and review the foster care agreement. By taking care of these animals in need, you're creating kennel space at CCACS, allowing us to help more homeless animals. Animals in foster care tend to be less stressed, better socialized, and have a lower chance of getting sick than animals in a shelter. For more information, call 361-826-4606 or email ccacsrescues@cctexas.com. Corpus Christi Animal Care Services, caring for our animals one paw at a time.
I'm Hasiel from Corpus Christi Water. Another exceptional drought is affecting major parts of our water sources. In order to conserve water, Corpus Christi Water recommends you to drought-proof your home while you drought-proof our water sources. Saving water means that we have more water for home use, keeping businesses and hospitals running, and fighting fires. So here's a tip: shorten your shower. Visit cctexas.com/conserve for more information.
The cost of repairing or replacing leaky or old gas lines could be too much for some residents of Corpus Christi. The City of Corpus Christi, in partnership with NextEra, is here to help you. The Plumbers to People program is dedicated to the safety and well-being of Corpus Christi residents by helping with repairs for their homes. We have partnered with multiple plumbers in the community to repair and replace old leaking gas lines free of charge to the consumer. The purpose of the program is to bring peace of mind to the community and offer support to those in need. To learn more, contact 826-CITY. The Plumbers to People program is here to help you.
When emergencies strike, stay informed with Reverse Alert. Everything from incoming severe weather, traffic alerts, police and fire activity, industry alerts, and citywide information. Reverse Alert will provide you time-sensitive information to keep you safe. Signing up is a fast and easy process. Text BeReadyCCNC to 888-777 or visit cctexas.com/alert sign up. Choose to receive notifications by phone call, text, or email. And with fully customizable options, you pick what notifications you want to receive. And you can designate what hours of the day that you don't want to be disturbed. Stay informed, stay aware, stay alert. Sign up for Reverse Alert today.
The City of Corpus Christi's Park and Recreation Department wants to remind the community of our stunning off-street hike and bike trail system. With 7 trails to choose from, you and the family are sure to have a wonderful time biking while enjoying a tremendous fitness and recreation experience. If you're looking for a scenic route, the Corpus Christi Bay Trail is a great route to explore. It is 8 miles long and runs from the Art Museum of South Texas to Texas A&M University Corpus Christi. This trail boasts beautiful bay views along with 7 parks on the route, including Cole Park and North Bayfront Park. If an 8-mile trek is too ambitious for you, consider enjoying the fresh coastal breeze in the shadow of the USS Lexington as you stroll down the Corpus Christi Beach Walk on North Beach. For residents looking for a bike trail on the south side of town, the Bear Creek Hike and Bike Trail connects parks, schools, and neighborhoods between Bill Witt and Oso Creek parks. The 1.5-mile path is great for all ages to enjoy. Nearby are the off-road bike trails, which are part of the Oso Creek Park and will eventually connect with the Bear Creek Trail. These bike trails follow the natural terrain as it transitions from South Texas brushland down to the Oso Creek. Another trail to consider is the Shannon Hike and Bike Trail, which runs from Yorktown and Saratoga Boulevard along the Shannon Storm Waterway. It is over a mile-long gravel and concrete trail that connects many parks along its route. The Hans and Pat Suter Wildlife Refuge Trails offers nature lovers an ideal spot to ride along Oso Bay. Along the 1-mile trail, you can observe many kinds of birds and other wildlife as you cruise through the grassy marshes and woodlands in the area. If you're looking for a bike trail on the west side part of town, then look no further than Salinas Park. Located on Airport Road and Horn Road, it offers a 93-acre sports complex, complete with a play-for-all playground and splash pad, with a 1-mile bike trail wrapping around the entire park. Located in northwest Corpus Christi, the trail at West Guth Park is another great way to enjoy time with the family and get in a great workout. It offers a wide-open park experience with natural environment and wildlife views. Take some bird seeds and you can feed the ducks at the pond. All these trails provide a convenient way to exercise and connect our community to the places where we live, learn, and play. So grab your bike today and make our parks and trails your everyday outdoor gym. For more information on bikes and trails in our city, visit cctexas.com.
Did you know you can submit a request for city services in just a few minutes using your phone? Download the free MyCC 311 app to get started. Quickly report issues such as street maintenance, water or gas issues, garbage pickup, code violations, or animal care services. The MyCC 311 app is easy to use. Upload information and photos, identify the location, hit submit, and you're all done. Life made easy with 311. Download the MyCC 311 app today.
The City of Corpus Christi reminds you there are small, everyday ideas you can use to protect us from drought-related water shortages. Inside your home, install modernized plumbing, low-flow shower heads, and simply turn off the faucet when not in use. Outside your home, make smart landscaping choices, limit your watering, and don't water during the hottest part of the day. Simple choices that will save water for the community and save money on your utility bill. We can all drink to that.
Your public libraries are now accessible at your fingertips. From our free digital resources options, tap into discovery and read, listen, watch digital content all from the comfort of your home. Anytime and anywhere you go, you can now borrow ebooks, audiobooks, movies, music, magazines, and watch educational programs. Our digital resources offers thousands of titles to choose from, all from your computer, tablet, or phone. And did we mention? It's all free. Visit cctexas.com/library for more information on how to sign up.
If you find a wandering pet and want to help return them to its owner, there are a few ways you can help. Go to 24petconnect.com to report the missing animal. You can submit photos, detailed information about the animal, and add your contact information. You can also contact the Lost Pet Hotline at 361-882-7387. They're a private group that assists in finding lost pets. Every second matters, so make sure to report a missing pet as soon as possible to help reunite them with their family.
When emergencies strike, stay informed with Reverse Alert. Everything from incoming severe weather, traffic alerts, police and fire activity, industry alerts, and citywide information. Reverse Alert will provide you time-sensitive information to keep you safe. Signing up is a fast and easy process. Text BeReadyCCNC to 888-777 or visit cctexas.com/alert sign up. Choose to receive notifications by phone call, text, or email. And with fully customizable options, you pick what notifications you want to receive. And you can designate what hours of the day that you don't want to be disturbed. Stay informed, stay aware, stay alert. Sign up for Reverse Alert today. The City of Corpus Christi is proud to introduce a new 311 call center. What is 311? It's an easy-to-remember citizens hotline to report non-emergencies or ask questions about city services. You can report problems and create service requests, check the status of issues, and obtain general information without tying up emergency lines. All you need to do is dial 311, and you will be connected with a trained customer service agent who can help you with all types of issues like reporting potholes in your neighborhood, illegal dumping, graffiti, animal cruelty, and much more. Have a question about your utility bill or need to find out if it's your day for garbage or recycling collection? That's right, 311 will get you that information and much more. There's also a free 311 mobile app available in the App Store and Google Play Store. App users can snap pictures and upload them with complaints and requests, and even track the progress from start to finish.
Another way to access 311 is by going to 311.cctexas.com. This option allows you to send in your requests online and has a live chat feature where you can chat instantly with a call center representative to help you with any questions you need answered. The 311 call center is open Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. The 311 service is part of an ongoing effort by the City of Corpus Christi to make city government easier and more responsive to the needs of residents, business owners, and visitors. Corpus Christi 311, where solutions start with a call.
Okay, we will reconvene our meeting, and we are on Section K, Public Hearings, items 11 through 13. Item number 11 is a
Mayor,
zoning.
with your permission, I would like to make a motion to pass items K11, 12, and 13.
11, 12. Okay, we have a motion and a second. I'm going to go ahead and ask, let's see, do we have an applicant here? Okay, and open public comment. Is there anyone in the room that would like to make public comment on items 11, 12, or 13? Okay, there being no one, I'm going to read what items 11, 12, and 13 are for public knowledge. Item 11 is zoning case number 0623-02, Ron and Vanessa LLC, the third, and TRR Development LLC located in District 4. Ordinance rezoning properties at or near 15821 and 15826 South Padre Island Drive and 15822 and 15826 Palmyra Avenue from the CR-210, is that a 10? 210 IO 2-IO Resort Commercial District with the island overlay to the CR2 IO PUD Resort Commercial District with the island overlay and a planned unit development. Item number 12 is zoning case 0523-01 Winco Investments LLC located in District 3. Ordinance rezoning property at or near 6302 Old Brownsville Road from the FR Farm Rural District to the RMH Manufactured Home District. And item number 13 is zoning case number 0623-01, MPM Development LP, Corpus Christi Independent School District in the city of Corpus Christi, located in District 5. Ordinance rezoning property at or near 8101 Yorktown Boulevard from the FR Farm Rural District and the RE Residential Estate District to the RS 4.5 Single Family 4.5 District, the CN1 Neighborhood Commercial District, and the CG2 General Commercial District. So we've opened public comment, we've closed it. All in, Mr. Klein.
Yeah, Mayor, I'd like to consider item number 13 separately if possible.
Okay, would you like to restate your?
Yes.
I'll rescind my second. All right, I'll rescind my second.
So what do we have?
Just 11 and 12.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to do 11 and 12.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. The motion carries. So item number 13 is the MPM Development rezoning. Mr. Klein.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'm inclined to vote against this. The future land use map plan called for this area to be reserved as the floodplain. And I don't think the circumstances that called for it to be reserved as the floodplain have changed to the point where it should not be considered that manner anymore. So I'm going to be voting no on this item.
Can we address this, Mr.
Absolutely. As you know, and I'm sure you know, you can build in a floodplain. You have to elevate. This is not necessarily where you would require base flood elevation plus 1 foot, like you sent me an email and I can't remember what, on the island, right? But in this case, it's just floodplain development. So in theory, right, you could build whatever you build and just worry about the 1 year where waters and everything just get out of control. It's certainly developable land, and when we did the land swap that helped created this, as you know, I think it just creates a great mixed-use development on this side of town in that area, and really is really kind of one of the first of its kind, I think, in the area. But it's not an undevelopable piece of land. It's just that's just, of course, your opinion. So,
excuse me, I'm sorry. Your concern is whether it's going to flood.
Yeah, I mean, if it was put into the future land use plan reserved as a floodplain in the past, I suspect that chances of it being used as the floodplain have not decreased. If anything, they've probably increased.
So is something being done to address flooding on that within this development?
it will be when he plats, obviously, when we do those kind of things. But I wanted to share something with you. I've got nothing against the area development plan or future land use map, but the city had owned this property before, and it was going to be in kind of a landfill back in the day. So I don't know if any thought was given to saying, oh yeah, let's do something here versus doing something there. And so for a good while, it always just has been city property and just let's reserve it for floodplain conservation, right? So if it could have been developed, it would have, but the city got off of the land, gave it to the developer for obvious, reasons. And so now it's.
We didn't give it, it was a transaction.
Transfer, right. Yeah. So anyway, it can be developed, and when he does platting, certainly we'll put in the infrastructure necessary to prevent water getting into structures.
But we would absolutely make certain that it wouldn't become some flood plain.
Absolutely.
So we would.
Yeah, so I understand that building in a floodplain, even if you build up, and this issue came up when Del Mar built its South Campus down on Yorktown and Rodfield Road, is in a floodplain down there, depending on which map you're looking at. And they said, well, we're going to build the land up. I understand that, but all the infrastructure getting to and from that built-up land still going to have a very strong chance of flooding. That's your water lines, your stormwater lines, your wastewater lines.
Your roads.
Roads.
Understood.
Yeah.
It is, we're typically a flat, topography, and these are the things we have to deal with, right? However, I don't want, and I appreciate your point, but I want to make sure it's not like you're building in a floodway or an AE zone. It's just, hey, this is an 100-year floodplain. You could leave it barren, right? Or you can develop it, and then when you develop on it, you have to put in the right infrastructure so that water doesn't enter the structures, and therefore you'll have quote unquote a successful development. So,
Thanks, Al.
Okay. Councilman Hernandez.
Al, I believe it was for a wastewater treatment plant at some.
I'm sorry.
You're
That's correct, Council. Right, yeah.
Correct. And the last two weather events we had that were significant that had a lot of issues were Hannah and Harvey, and I don't believe this property flooded at any point in time. Is that correct?
I don't know that,
I can't
Councilman.
answer that.
Do you know?
No, I do not.
Wes,
Okay.
do you know?
Well, I live on the south side, and I don't recall it flooding. So
this property is pretty remote, so I'm not sure if anybody really knows.
And we have lots of properties along the Oso, which this property's alongside, and I think it can be mitigated without too many issues.
Relatively easy, right?
The now, is it my preference to live along the Oso? No, but that's going to be there. I mean, our developer's back there; he'll have to mitigate it. That's now, in terms of the zoning, I've had some complaints from some of the neighborhoods, but I don't think they understand what exactly is happening there. So I think this will be fine, and I think it meets our area development plan.
Yes.
So I'll make a motion to approve.
But we have a couple, Councilman Roy. You seconded, Councilman Roy.
I just wanted to add one thing, is that, as you know, Al, when the flood maps are relooked at, and I can't remember the period of time that's done, that a lot of times these areas change. So we have areas out there that right now are not in a flood zone, that in the future, they all of a sudden deem that it's a flood zone, and there's houses there, and there's development there, and there's things there. So I just wanted to kind of make the public and everybody understand that those things happen.
Right. Thank you, sir.
Okay, Councilman Suckley.
Yeah, I live a mile from there, and I can't recall it ever being a flooding issue in that area right there. It drains out real well out of those. So, but lastly is sort of irrelevant to what we're deciding today, but certainly with the expansion of Yorktown in that same stretch, all the other construction going on in that same stretch, and then to add a large development on there, it's going to be a challenge to coordinate everything. So,
understood.
Okay. So we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no.
No.
Motion carries. Section L is individual consideration items 14 through 18.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve items 14 through 18.
Okay, everybody else okay with that? All right.
I need to recuse myself from 16.
Recuse, okay, Councilman
16.
Suckley is recusing from item number 16.
Okay, I rescind my motion. I'd like to make a motion to approve
I'd like to talk about 15.
items 14, 17, and 18.
Second.
Okay, and I will go ahead and open public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to make public comment on items 14 through 18, minus item number 15 and 16? Okay, there being no one, we'll close public comment. I'll entertain, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Councilman Hernandez, do you have a question on this before we vote?
We need to approve the other one.
Well, we haven't passed it, but his light's on. So do you have a question on this?
Yes, on 15, we talked about this during our discussions yesterday
Oh,
about.
well, no, hold on, we're not there yet.
Okay.
We're passing, okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. The motion carries. Okay, now, item number 15. Let me read it, Councilman. This is a motion awarding a construction contract to National Power Rotting Corp. For citywide wastewater indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity, or IDIQ, manhole improvements project in an amount of $2 million. Your question.
Okay, we're funding this through our capital program, which is debt, correct?
Correct, Councilman.
And we talked about possibly moving this over into utilizing our pay-as-you-go type funding. This would be kind of the ideal point on this, but if we approve it this way, does that prevent you from doing that?
No, I think we would have to, right now, that's not in the operating budget. So we'd have to,
I mean, this mainly going to be for over a year period.
Right, we'd have to, we may have to appropriate more money in the fund, this is a wastewater, so we may have to appropriate more monies in the wastewater.
Well, the wastewater, the reason I bring this up is because wastewater is where we had the fund balance.
Right.
Right, so what I'm saying is that we should use some of our fund balance to pay for this instead of debt.
We can do that. What we'll do, Councilman, is if you approve it today, that's fine, and then we'll make an amendment to the appropriation and
Okay,
the
so
operating
what
side.
I'd like to do is make an amendment to say you could use either or.
Right, that's fine.
Okay, with that,
Yeah.
that gives you the flexibility to do this, so.
Yeah, I will, but we're gonna have to amend when you all approve the budget for '24, for wastewater, we'll have to increase appropriations, so we can do some
You just have to
pay-as-you-go.
move it over.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I'm referring to. You can make that amendment. So I want to give you the
Right.
option to do it with this contract.
Yes, sir.
To use it either debt service or, reserve
operating
balance.
fund, right,
So
wastewater
I'll make a
operating.
motion to approve and then make an amendment to adjust the fund
Okay.
levels, okay?
Yeah.
So I make a
And
motion.
we're gonna use I guess your notion is use fund balance as opposed to
Debt service.
debt service, right?
And this is in wastewater, and we identified this yesterday as having a significant
Right,
balance
right.
above the reserve balance.
Right.
So that, I just want to give them the option to do that instead of providing more debt in the wastewater system, so.
Right.
No, that's fine.
Okay? So I make a motion to approve.
Second.
And then I make a motion to amend to allow for use of reserve balance to pay for the IDIQ program. In this item.
We have a second on that, okay? And I will ask for any public comment on item number 15. Okay, there being none, we'll close public comment. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. The motion carries.
Approve as amended.
Yes.
You got to vote for it.
I thought you just,
We-
okay.
You approved the amendment. Now we gotta
We
approve
approved
as
the amendment, now we have to approve the main motion that
Right.
has been amended. So last
Stephanie,
week, we did that
I
wrong.
think you need
Right,
to be
so-
the one, where are we?
So we
You are
already
the
made a motion and
parliamentarian. I know,
approved it.
but let her do her job.
Yeah, so we made the motion to bring it to the floor so that we can just make the amendment. We made the motion to amend, and that was approved, and now there needs to be another motion to approve as amended.
Right, which you made.
make a
Do we have a
motion to
second on
approve as
that?
amended.
Did we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Alrighty.
I'm sorry, who's the first on that? We're trying to, okay, first. and second. Okay.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Motion carries. Okay, item number 16, Councilman Suckley recuses himself, and that is a motion awarding a construction contract to Jabor's Construction Company in an amount up to $5 million with 2 renewal options to be administratively authorized for a total amount not to exceed $15 million for citywide water line replacement, repair, small diameter, indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity for fiscal year 2023, Part B project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, I'll
Or
go ahead and
second.
open public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to make public comment on item number 16? Okay, there being no one, we'll close public comment. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh,
Aye.
well, you didn't turn it off. Okay.
No,
Okay.
I turned it off and turned it back
Okay,
on.
sorry. Go ahead, Councilman Gill, Hernandez.
Okay, I want to mention this is similar, but there's no really a lot of balance in the water fund. But for future budgets, we need to, in the discussion yesterday, we talked about putting more reserve aside. I don't necessarily think you need to do that. I think you need to put more money towards pay-as-you-go or capital improvements in the actual budget, and then if you have any emergency where you have to change that option, you can make the change, but it's still there for capital improvement and not necessarily reserve balance, because it just looks like you're hoarding cash if it's in the reserve balance. So just for the next budget, assign more in the capital improvement as part of your regular maintenance and operation, as opposed to doing it that way. And IDIQ program is the perfect place to do it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. The motion carries. Okay, there being no further business, this meeting is adjourned.